Gathered
Anyway,
friends.
so today's National Burrito Day. Anyone have burritos today?
Gathered friends, listen again to our legend of tales thousands years past, of places and cities and things that you'll never know. My friends, welcome to the Greg Zone.
Anyway, that's the second thing I wanted to bring up when we started. Everybody had their burritos today?
Boys don't
Why are
have
you like
food.
this?
We only eat meat paste.
What is food?
A
Okay,
miserable
so-
little pile of secrets?
Okay, I haven't had a burrito either today. I had a bagel and some chili. Does that count?
Hope you didn't have
Probably.
them together.
Welcome to Metru Nui, everyone!
Welcome to Burrito Nui, the home of the Toa Metru.
Spoilers.
And welcome, special guest TuragaNuva.
Hey.
Yeah,
This is the guy that made the book.
Hey, I did that. I did that thing.
Hello, book boy. I was expecting us to have you on the last year, but here you are.
Well, one
Hey.
question I just want to ask right off the bat. I actually didn't think of this until like just now. Do you do this just by yourself, or do you have other editors and people contributing?
Did you not read the thread, Liam?
What thread? The thread for the release? I've probably read it like a year ago.
Like, I know off the top of my head, Lady Kopaka is involved.
Well,
Oh yeah, fuck. I should have considered that.
Lady Kopaka has writing in it because some of her fan work was canonized. She wasn't actually involved with this project itself.
Never mind then. I should have let you do the talking about the question that Liam asked you. I'm dumb.
It's fine. So the biggest help I've received on this from any one person is a big shout out to TuragaNuva. I hope I'm pronouncing his username correctly.
Wait, TuragaNuva?
TuragaNuva, yeah.
He keeps coming up
Who
again.
that is?
He was a guest star in my Sprite comics.
Oh, cool. Small world.
Yeah, very small world. I was so surprised when he joined. The server,
Literally just
ours.
one island.
Wait, what?
One island, one singular island, and there will never be any others.
What are we talking about?
We're talking about the Bionicle world, dang it.
No, did I zone out? When did we start talking about a singular island of oneness?
We've been talking about it for the past 3 episodes.
I thought we were talking about a guy.
It's okay. You don't have to understand.
Anyway, Turaga writes all the books. The end.
The short version is TuragaNuva was the one who converted the original chapter books to like a Word format, like digital format for me.
Right.
He provided me with that, and I, with a lot of feedback from him, did the bulk of the compiling and organizing and everything related to the comics.
Man, if only that had been done back in 2015 or so when I made my Legacy of Evil poster and had to transcribe literally all of Legacy of Evil with Joe for that poster.
I want to have Joe.
Curtis,
on,
put that poster on screen.
I want to have
Bam.
Joe on.
Buy it on my DeviantArt or whatever.
I want to have Joe as a guest star on the podcast when we do the episode about that book.
Oh, we're doing that. Well, that's happening. Because I think we both basically had to read through the entire book while we were doing it. Because, like, we were using an on-screen reader to just automatically run the text through. But we still had, like, it wasn't perfect from the scans, so we still had to correct, like, misspellings, combined letters, grammatical errors, punctuation, etc. And actually, we had to remove, like, line breaks and stuff, so it was just one big block of text that I could copy and paste into a vector.
You know, while you were talking, I realized I don't actually remember if TuragaNuva was a guest star in my comics or I was a guest star in his. Either way, Sprite Comics was a...
I mean, it was, like, 15 years ago on BZ Power, so...
Oh God! Stop making me feel old.
That sure was a thing, wasn't it? Anyway,
You
are we
think
ready
you're
to-
old?
Hey,
I'm 1,000 years old.
Are we ready to stop talking?
in less than a year's time, Legend of Metru Nui will have started development 20 years ago.
Stop it.
Are we ready to start talking about the book?
Yeah, speaking of 1,000 years old, 1,000 years ago, a city existed.
Exactly.
And,
yeah, city, and I guess it's New York City, and all the little cities inside the city are actually called boroughs, but we're not calling them that because children can't read big words like boroughs.
Yeah,
They can pronounce Polynesian words.
Yeah, like Metru.
Or Kopiki. Or Kopik. Or Kopike.
And little children can certainly understand astronomical timescales like 1,000 years.
Only one poo. He takes one poo and then he dies.
I'm going to play a little game for the rest of us reading all these books, and if you want, you can join in. And that is,
what's the game? Every time Josie makes a non sequitur, we take a shot?
We're
all
we
gonna
don't.
die by the end of the
with
episode.
A rifle. At me
No.
with a rifle. Take
The,
a
the
shot
game
at me
is-
with a rifle.
No, the game is every time a very large number of years comes up, like, more than 1,000, let's say, just in your head, divide that number by 100. Trust me, it'll make way more sense that way.
Yeah.
What?
So, for instance, now we say, oh, this island, it was 1,000 years ago. No, it was 10 years ago. That's all you need to know.
Well,
Yeah,
no.
are the bonks immortal then?
What?
Do they just not die if nothing kills them?
Well,
No, they don't.
they don't. We'll find out later on that they were never meant to die ever. And then Makuta showed up. It was like,
Well,
fuck
to
that!
be fair, we don't actually know if they have, expected lifespans. We just know that they are very, very, very long-living.
Pretty much. They can wear down, but most of that can be repaired. So, for the most part, they just live for a very long time.
Yeah, as was established in Naming Day in the last few books, at the very least, the Turaga have knowledge on how to properly rebuild Matoran.
Evidently, yeah. So...
And
Yeah,
they probably
so-
learned that knowledge back on Metru Nui, which
And
is where they
today-
grew up.
Today
Or,
we've
I guess,
learned
existed.
Today we've learned that the natural force of entropy exists within Bongle Land.
What do you mean by this?
Everybody and everything will die someday. The end.
I guess so.
Well,
Yes.
it's time for me to take a shot then.
Yeah, with
But,
a
yeah.
rifle at me, so I can finally die.
So yeah, these Turaga that have been, they've been our village elders for the past 3 story years. Turns out they used to be cool guys.
They were
Drag,
pretty rich when they were
you
young.
foul
Tur-
creature!
no,
One more step and I'll...
But before that, they were just babies. They were just babies like the rest of the babies.
Yep.
And
Little
it turns
babies.
out that Turaga are literally the same age as all of the Matoran on the island.
Mm-hmm. They basically have no intellectual superiority over them. They just used to be cool.
They're not old as shit. They're just built that way.
Oh, they have memories of a longer life than everyone else.
That's true. Yeah.
They have a longer effective lifespan, and they certainly have more experience. But technically, they are still the same age as fucking Jaller and Takua and Holly and Maku and all of them.
What
we haven't got to.
I wouldn't throw Takua into that, but we're not going to talk about that just yet.
Basically,
yeah.
we're saying that when all the other Matoran lost their memory, the Turaga kept all this to themselves so they could have a sense of superiority
Pretty
and
much.
to come off as like the
love it.
wise elders.
Well, since you're the manager of this book project, everything you say becomes canon. So,
Oh no, I don't want this
congratulations.
power.
You have just established that the Turaga are all really full of themselves.
Was that ever in doubt?
And as we see in this book, a couple of them were.
But yeah,
Just to go right off the bat into a bit of the characterization, I'm really surprised at how bitchy Nakama is. Like, I completely forgot.
Yeah, they were going on about how dumb they thought the Toa were in the last book, and they were like, "Ooh, can we tell them what happened?" But they were just as dumb.
Yeah. They were dumber.
Well,
I don't know about that. I mean, at the very least, they weren't like. How do I put this? They didn't. There was no Tahu equivalent in the Toa Metru. There was no voice of Kopaka telling everyone, okay, everyone split up again.
No, they all just kind of hated each other, and that was their biggest flaw.
Yeah.
They hated each other, but they still stuck together and did their damn jobs.
Yep. And unlike the red guy...
Usually without fumbling it up.
And unlike the red guy of the previous iteration we've read about, Vakama seems like the best guy, although he still sucks. They all are bad at this.
Yeah, I mean, the red guy is still the leader, but at least this time, there's a bit more nuance to it.
He doesn't want to be.
Yeah, he's an edgy boy.
Yeah, Vakama... Vakama is weird for me because there is a distinct difference in characterization. In the books, he is unsure of himself, but he's fine. In the movie we'll likely be watching next week, he's a little emo bitch.
Yeah, I like to think that he just has all of the mid 2000s emo punk rock in his closet.
I mean, can you really blame him? He gets random visions for no reason.
I have a headcanon for why he has the visions, but we haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah,
I do quite like that it mirrors the Toa of Fire. So Tahu is the first one to get a vision in the first book, and then in the fourth book, Vakama is the first one to get a vision.
I also have...
I completely forgot that Tahu had a vision in the first book.
I also have a headcanon for why Tahu gets the visions, and it's related to the headcanon I have for Vakama getting visions, but again, you haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, in Vakama's case, I forget if they explain this in what will be the end of 2005, but, I don't know. Seems kind of flimsy.
Anyway, so fast forward to when we actually start talking about the book again. There's one Toa guarding over all of Metru Nui, because I guess the rest of them died.
Yes, they did.
I think that the team of the Toa Mangai, it wasn't even... That's his Toa team name, by the way. Not really a spoiler, so there's not really stated anywhere else.
It is the name of the volcano that they decided to name the volcano.
That's true.
Modern
but,
lands.
His team was never a standard size. It wasn't 6. It was 11 or something like that.
I think it was 10.
I think it was... I had heard 12.
It was around that number anyway.
Listeners, as you can probably tell, it wasn't very clear.
Yeah, I don't think it was ever stated beyond, again, Greg just lore dumping on Beezy power.
So basically, there was a goddamn war, and the Toa Mangai was just assembled out of the Toa that survived.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, we'll get more into that later.
And then they fought a dragon, and Lekon was the only survivor.
No, that's not quite how it went down. There were some
too much.
Yeah.
I mean, until we get to the part where the other stuff happened, can we just accept that?
We'll just say that there were some Toa Mangai. Lekon was the leader, and around 18 months before the start of this book, they went off on a mission, and most of them didn't come back. Lekon was the only one left then.
Yep, so basically Lekon's the only one guarding New York City, and then a thing that we don't know exactly
The Silver Surfer is the only guardian of New York City. The end. Moving on.
Yep, and so a thing happens, so he gives MacGuffins, so 6 random Matoran that aren't random, but we'll find out later. And it's not really significant how the other 5 receive their MacGuffins, but then he shows up to a mask mask-making workshop and gives Vakama, the Matoran, his MacGuffin, and then he gets jumped by Spider-Man.
Yep. This is where we enter Nidhiki, one of the primary antagonists of this story, where this actually plays out a little bit differently to how it will be depicted in the movie, which we'll get to. In the movie, he was accompanied by the as-yet unnamed Brute, who I guess is not really a spoiler to say his name is Cracker.
Yep.
But
Which is
in the
not-
book version,
which is
Cracker's not there.
Which is not at all confusing with the name of the Rahkshi we'll see at the end of the
And
book.
also, let's take note of their contextless foreshadowing. This time, your farewell will be forever, brother.
Don't call me that! You know we're divorced!
You lost the right to call me brother long ago.
Yep.
I wonder what that could mean.
And can we real quick touch on the fact that Likan is just cool Tahu?
Pretty much.
Like,
Yeah, I
he's
went
got
over all
the
the
same
re-
map, same element. He has the two swords that combine into a surfboard, but his can fly.
The Virgin Tahu, the Chad Lekon.
Yep, someone on Twitter just asked...
you, but better.
Someone on Twitter just asked out of nowhere why Lekon was so cool, and I just gave them a shit ton of reasons, off the top of my head. I don't think Lekon is in the notes that I took. I just knew them all off the top of my head. Like he has a
Likan
fancy
is just the best guy.
Let's see, he has the most iconic mask in the franchise, but he has a even fancier version than the one we usually see. He's got two big ass swords. He's got a cool color scheme. He's single-handedly guarding over New York City, basically.
Speaking of the mask, shout out to Red Star Forge and their Vanguard collection.
Yep, the ones that Ibby bitches about, but I love.
Same.
Yep,
Yeah.
I love.
Anyway.
love all the people who make masks on shapeways, and I'm very sorry that the Nazis get so mad at you for some reason.
Yeah. But
Not
the
that
mask is pretty
Ibby's a
cool.
Nazi; that's unrelated.
Anyway, so all the Matoran, they get these Toa Stones, which, if you'll remember, Takua gathered some Toa Stones back on the island of Metru Nui, although
what?
they did a very different thing back there. So yeah, the Toa Stones that Takua gathered way back in Book 1, they just sort of... What did they do again? They, like, teleported him somewhere or something?
No. They summoned the Toa.
Yes.
They literally in canon, they activated the homing beacons on the canisters that were just floating in the ocean for 1,000 years.
Oh, right.
Basically,
that's what they did.
the energy,
And the energy
stone-
blast from the Kenny Nui just launched Takua into the fucking sky.
That's right, yeah.
I wasn't aware that the stones from 2001 were Toa stones. I thought they were different stones.
Well, as we'll find out later, I won't talk about it yet, but that they are Toa stones placed there by Toa.
Anyway,
absolutely.
So Lekon gave them all Toa stones, and they took
Yep.
them to the temple, and then they got turned into big boys.
Yep, they just did it.
Yep.
Not much pomp or
evolved.
circumstance about it. These guys just are Toa now.
Yep, they all went through puberty spontaneously and were very confused because they didn't know that this was a thing that happened.
And then
Even
they go
though
to a
they've lived in
jumble
the
sale
city
for
for a long
Toa
time,
Tools.
presumably.
Yeah. Apparently the Turaga never told them. Oh, gee, wow, that's familiar.
Hmm.
No one ever told them. Anyway, so,
They go for-
Matau's all full of himself and thinks, oh god, this is the greatest thing ever, and everyone else is a little bit more confused than that.
Yeah.
And then the thing
also-
opens, and they can collect their fucking weapons or whatever. I think there's
Not
they
only
go
do
to
they
a-
collect their weapons, they get to choose them. Apparently, there's
apparently
like a big selection there.
Apparently
Yeah,
there's
there's
just a
just a
fucking
jumble sale.
Why is the church just full of a stash of weapons?
mean, they gotta defend themselves
the
somehow.
coolest.
Anyway, and so Vakama chooses a frisbee launcher, which is what he already had as a baby. And
But now
it's
it's
Incredibly
bigger.
toyetic.
And it's also a jetpack.
It's also a jetpack.
But he
It's
never
water,
uses it
like-
as a jetpack, at least not yet.
And so here's my first note that I took, because I took notes like a good girl. So apparently there are frisbees with all of their masks in this stash of weapons. I did not realize that those were canon. Vakama's set came with one of those, and I did not realize that those were canon. I did.
Yeah,
they
they're
were
called-
in the games on the Metru Nui Toa Metru mini CDs as well, and I'm pretty sure the stories of those they're pretty much like a point-and-click investigation minigame, and if I remember correctly, the stories told in those line up with the stories told in this book as well.
Yep, they do.
Neat. Yeah.
Yeah,
I always
but
just assumed they were the great discs. Anyway.
yeah, no, those Toa mask discs, do they ever do anything? I forget.
Nah.
I think they're just decorations.
Okay, fair enough.
Like commemorative plates, but frisbees.
It's sort of a plot point, the fact that they exist, but that'll come up later.
I
Okay.
wonder if you could make a mask out of those discs. Like, are they actual Kanoka discs, or are they just, like, bamboo discs?
They
What if they're just
have
masks?
elemental power corresponding to the Toa that they match, like a small portion of elemental power.
So what
I
you're
believe they
saying
can't
is-
be made into masks, though. They lose their power if they're made into masks because they actually have Toa power, not traditional Kanoka power.
I
What's
thought
the point of them, then? What would they be used for?
Like a
Commemorative
tradition thing.
plates.
They're just like gifted to new Toa.
Why would
commemorative plates.
no? But like, my point is, like, why would a commemorative plate have gunpowder in it?
It's a fair question. I don't have an answer for you.
Why would a comic book be made with blood?
But
Oh,
yeah,
we should
speaking
probably
of
mention, we should
discs,
probably mention what the frisbees do. Yeah.
yeah, this is a common thing in Metru Nui. They take molten protodermis and all over Metru Nui, they smelt it into these Kanoka discs, which have absurdly overpowered superpowers, and which
Yeah,
come in
like, these
9
things-
power levels.
But for these things range anywhere from, like, they can make a thing small to you put 6 of the levitation ones together and they literally power airships.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
why is
so-
one of them removes poison? I've never understood. It's like, oh, let's put that into ammunition.
I assume they get poisoned a lot, so they need medicinal frisbees.
They can shoot you with a heal
I'm
bullet.
just imagining when we're watching Mask of Light, I'm just imagining if Kanoka discs were on Matanui at that time, we just see like Galley come in, okay, I got this disc, whacks Tahu over the head with the disc.
Anyway,
Just to make sure.
So, do you think they have doctors that have to prescribe medicinal frisbees?
Discs.
Did you just hand you a frisbee with a marijuana leaf on it and say, take this one time a day and you'll be right fine. Contact me if you need more.
Don't
you're-
operate heavy machinery.
You could potentially do that too. Like if you use a shrinking Kanoka disc on a Kanoka disc that has a removes poison power, you could theoretically turn it into a pill.
Can you use Kanoka discs on Kanoka discs?
Would they cancel each other out?
Would they just merge together?
Can you use Kanoka discs on specific body parts?
Ooh, titties.
You think I know you're using those enlarging discs on something now?
Curtis, put that Rick and Morty scene up!
I don't know which one you mean, but okay.
The one with the
Episode
titties!
Take a
over.
shot.
We're done. The show's canceled. Bye.
The one with the titties! Adult Swim is cool and might not sue us.
Anyway, so yeah, these discs, one of them is just reconstitute at random.
Which is both the greatest and worst thing I have ever heard attached to a MacGuffin.
You accidentally use one and you turn into a giraffe.
So I gotta
You're
wonder
gonna be
how that
really-
scales with power levels. Like, the other discs you can say, oh, the grow disc. If it's a power level 1, it makes you an inch taller. If it's a power level 5, it makes you like 50 feet tall. That makes sense. But reconstitute at random, how do you...
I assume this one would be the difference between cat fingers and Cronenberg monsters.
Cat fingers.
Or, well, yeah, actually, yeah. So, like, I would say, think of it like a computer running calculations. Reconstitute at random power level 1 would only do calculations for 1 hour to generate the randomness. Power level
Okay.
9 would do the thing for 27 hours.
Are we sure the Toa Stone aren't just create Toa discs?
Ooh.
I mean, they might be
that
a
could be a
similar sort of thing.
You know what? That could work. Maybe the Toa Stones have a create Toa disc subroutine, And that's where the discs come from. I just
Oh, dude,
remembered.
what if the
the
Toa
disc-
discs are the Toa Stones, but like reshaped?
I just
it's,
remembered. Owen said that they'll be imported somewhere.
It's significant to the plot that the discs were made manually
okay.
at some point. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh well.
Yep. Yep.
Moving on.
I love
Yeah.
frisbees. Anyway.
So yeah, we've got superpowered frisbees. So now...
Superpowered frisbees, so the Matoran can defend themselves because they're
Yeah.
still weak as
Josie,
shit.
So
you gotta let people talk.
I like talking.
so
Maybe not drink so much energy drink.
this is where Vakama gets his first vision. This is of the city falling. He's not entirely sure what it means, and everyone else just thinks he's crazy, which he probably is, let's be honest.
And they do what he says anyway.
And they
Fun
do what he
fact.
says anyway.
Fun fact, that vision is actually, like, this whole opening part of the book is the opening half of the movie as well. And this vision portrayed in the movie is actually a really weird scene, because he says, like, I saw it, Metru Nui was destroyed. But they actually, like, they didn't show Metru Nui as being destroyed.
It was just a PNG of the city.
It was in a deleted scene where, like, the entire city was going up in flames and shit.
Oh. Guess that was too violent or something.
I'm going through my notes, and I think we actually skipped the actual beginning of the book where where Vakama was a Matoran, and then the village elder showed up and said, "Where's my mask? Have you made the mask of fucking time yet?"
Oh yeah, that happened.
And he's like, I can't make the mask of fucking time because you haven't given me the greatness.
It's also worth noting that this is literally happening, like, right after Mask of Light, where everyone's building boats to go back to Metru Nui. Meanwhile, Vakama is telling this story to all the Toa and Hali, who is the new chronicler gathered around the Kini Nui.
Yep,
Anyway.
Holly is the chronicler, and she always will be.
So, like, literally...
She will never leave our story.
So, like, literally in, like, the first few pages of the book, I find something that makes no sense to me. So, apparently TuragaNuva is taller than Vakama in his Matoran form, even though in set form, TuragaNuva uses the same build as a Matoran.
Yes, because the movie designs are canon, and the movie design retains the Turaga model from Mask of Light.
Yeah, it was established later in the book that... Well, no, I was actually checking the wiki for something, and then I found out that the Moltoran designs, the Matoran designs in Mask of Light, those are the canon look of what they're supposed to look like here.
In
It's
fact,
confusing.
with TuragaNuva specifically...
What?
with TuragaNuva specifically, I think the 2004 comics, if they depicted him at all, I'm not sure if they did, they would have depicted him in his set form.
Yeah,
but
they
when he reappears later, much later in like the 2008 comics, they redesigned him into his Mask of Light form.
Spoilers!
Yeah, I wanted to...
Or rather, Legend of Metru.
I wanted to point out, too, as well, when I was rewatching Legends of Metru Nui, the movie again, like, a couple weeks ago, the Matoran designs are weird. I'd say it's more Miramax being lazy, because only the main 6 characters have the Metru Nui Matoran design, and all of the Matoran in the audience of the Colosseum have the Mask of Light models.
They're just copy-pasted.
Yeah.
I was going to say, it's probably the same audience from the Coley Field.
Oh, it is. And it's right down to only having a selection of, like, 4 different masks.
Well, it's better than what I was thinking. I forgot the movie had Matoran in it at all, other than the first 6.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll get more into the movie next time, I suppose, since that, the majority of the movie story is in the next section of the book.
So anyway, the old people are babies, and now they're Toa, and now they have to find more babies to find
Mask of
frisbees.
Time.
More babies
Yes.
to find frisbees.
Yeah, so Vakama has been tasked with making the Mask of Time because he's the best mask maker. And the TuragaNuva is like, dude, I really need the Mask of Time for, like, reasons, you understand? And Vakama's like, look, dude, I'm trying the best I can. I just don't have good discs. I gotta have, like, great discs or something, if they even exist.
Hey,
Look, you can't expect me to make a nuke in my garage.
Hey, if Metru Nui only has one Toa, and that one Toa is only ever seen wearing one mask, what is Duma telling the Matoran that these masks are even for?
Why do they need so many mask makers at all anyway? Like,
not
are
like we
Matoran
use
breaking
them.
their masks that often?
Apparently, they're so weak they need to have overpowered frisbees.
I mean, if naming day, again, is any indication, Matoran will just change masks if they so choose.
Yeah, it's like clothing.
I guess it's a
It's
fashion
like
statement.
making clothing at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to know what the purpose of making so many great masks is. Especially, why would you need the Mask of Time specifically unless you're evil?
I mean,
Oh.
yeah.
Ask Tahu?
I mean, Liam is evil and he wears the Mask of Time.
Exactly.
And
but
Owen,
yeah.
Owen made a mock of the time. Is your guy evil?
Supposedly not.
Oh, well, that throws...
Can I just say that I know we're getting way ahead of ourselves talking G2 stuff here, but I hate Bionicle. I hate the name. I hate the concept.
Oh, I do
Why
too.
did they think it was a good idea?
I'll be honest,
Absolutely agree.
I'll be honest, I didn't know that was actually a character until just now.
Yes, it was literally like the G2 equivalent of Takua.
I didn't know
Which is
that
the
until
joke
just
of the Toa of Time I made. Is that it's like G2 Takua.
I thought that was an OC.
Yeah,
But
G2
anyway.
names aren't great.
No. Some of them are alright, but anyway. So yeah, speaking of industry in Metru Nui, every district has exactly one export. The stone guys, they have tools. The water people are all teachers. The ice guys, they just look at the stars all day. The earth guys, rather, they put stuff underground and talk about it because it's from the past.
No, they are all museum curators.
Yeah,
Every
exactly
single
Yeah, they
one
all-
of them.
what I said.
It's so fucking ghoulish that they keep endangered species alive in vats to be studied for centuries.
Yeah. Oh, and
No, you know what's even worse is with the ones they can't keep. I'm fine with them putting them in suspended animation because that at least means like they're not aware of what's going on. For the bigger shit that they can't stuff into a tank, they just lock it in a cell.
Yep.
Except for that one that is a room.
And the blue one, the Gamatoran are only ever seen teaching other Gamatorans. So what exactly do they? What are they there for? What are they teaching and why?
Hooray for segregation!
Are they just
They're
doing?
teaching each other to teach.
That seems just like busy work, but all right. At least everyone else is doing stuff for each other.
Yeah, and yeah, like we've seen, the Toa Matoran, they are the mask makers and also pretty good smelters.
Yeah, they
like
make
in general.
they make pretty much everything. The stone Matoran actually make the decorative carvings that go on
Can I just
stuff.
point out too that mask makers make Kanoe masks out of Kanoka discs. Kanoka discs themselves are made of molten protodermis, but masks can also be made directly from molten protodermis. So why are we making masks out of Kanoka discs in the first place?
I assumed it was
been-
because you know the actual properties of the disc.
I've always been sort of unclear on what the creation process for the discs actually is, because masks can only be made in Toa Metru, where they have like forges and whatnot, but discs are just made in all the Metru somehow.
So it's presumably easier to make the frisbees from molten protodermis than it is to make the masks. And
I
I'm
guess
just
it's like
Yeah.
making iron slugs.
Yeah, I guess.
now, do you mean slugs the animal or slugs the shooty shoots?
No, I mean like making like, you know, like iron bars and shit.
Why didn't you just say iron bars?
It's the same fucking thing.
Okay, so anyway, we've learned today that it's easier to make Lego bricks to make Lego models than to just smelting ABS plastics into Lego models.
Pretty much.
That's
Yeah,
actually a very good analogy.
I am good at analogies! It is one of the only two things I'm good at, and the other is memes.
I should point out, by the way, that we're already a half hour into recording and we haven't even gotten past the first chapter.
Oh,
Curtis, edit me out of the podcast!
Okay, so should we get into those other chapters then? So so Nokama reads on a wall of the Great Temple, which apparently, this wall is just wait, did it rise out of the ground or has it always been there? I forget, but there is some inscription that she reads that says, "Hey, you know those great discs? Here's like some vague clues on where to find them." And then Vakama's like, "Oh, in my vision, I just heard the names of 6 guys who just know where the discs are, so we don't even need those clues, really."
Well, the clues help, sort of, because, as we'll later see, all of the Matoran are assholes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all untrustworthy and have reasons to dislike these specific Matoran that got turned into Toa.
Yeah, which may have been on purpose, as we'll find
destiny.
out.
Destiny!
Yeah.
Everyone hates each other
anyway.
because of destiny!
So yeah, the 6 newly minted Toa Metru, as they quickly dub themselves.
I mean,
I don't know what makes these guys more Toa Metru than the Toa Mangai, but
it's an obvious name, but...
Yeah. It's a marketing name, really, but anyway.
It's marketing! We gotta sell them toys!
So yeah, they all split up into their individual Metru to go find these Matoran who know where the Great Discs are. And first we have a look at Nokama, the Toa of Water, who is a little bit sassier than Gali, and cool, and I like her.
Yep, and she's going to go look for her stalker.
Yeah, Voisola, who is a total stalker, and
Is that how you pronounce it?
What?
Her name is spelled real weird, and I never knew how to pronounce it.
How did you pronounce it?
I never did.
Well, how would you have pronounced it?
Voisola.
So,
Go home.
Voisola,
Always just
yes.
said Voisola.
I didn't know how to. I never knew how to spell it, so in my notes I just called her Vuvuzela.
Okay, that works.
So basically,
Vuvuzela totally has the hots for Nokama.
Yeah, so basically she makes noises at soccer games, and she's a tsundere.
So Nokama breaks into her house and is just like, "Oh shoot, there's posters of me all over the wall. This is
Voisola never invited me to her house, and I soon found out why.
I'm sorry. Can we just, single-handedly make a mod of... what the fuck is that game called? Fuck.
Portal 2?
Oh, Yandere Simulator or something?
No. Fucking,
Doki Doki Literature Club?
Yes, that. Let's just make a mod of that with Voisola in it.
Hell
Just
yeah!
Voisola.
Bionicles! Bionicle!
Oh, yeah.
I made that logo the other day. I think it was. I don't know what time it is. Anyway, one of my favorite lines about Voisola in this is, Voisola never invited me to her house, despite how close friends we were. I soon found out why.
By the way, Voisola being a stalker, it basically doesn't matter after this chapter at all. Nobody brings it up.
Well, to be fair, if you had to pal around with your stalker all the time, would you want to bring it up?
I'm sorry.
I try and clear the air at least.
I just want to bring up the irony of, right before this point, love isn't canon. Then Greg immediately turns the next Matoran into a fucking stalker tsundere.
And a lesbian.
There's no love here.
There's no love.
This is something very different.
There's no love here, except for unhealthy relationships that are also gay. That's a bad message.
It's like we immediately go from cute Hookie and Maku to Amy Rose.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And,
Amy Rose,
yeah.
but she has a crush on Rouge the Bat instead.
And something else that we find out in this chapter is that despite, Metru Nui being pretty technologically advanced, everyone still writes on stone tablets.
I could have sworn they had paper, but then I read this fucking book and
Oh
I was
no,
like,
they very much do not have paper.
No, they don't have paper, but they do have ink.
okay.
They just use the ink on stone.
And I was just like, oh my, you have iron forges and hover
Don't have
tanks?
trees.
Hover tanks! They
Okay, so
built
Trees are made
robots.
of metal.
They have
Okay, so-
robots. They have fucking
Getting ahead of ourselves a
robots.
little bit, right? In the
To
movie,
be fair, we have robots, and we're still using pieces of wood to write on.
True. But yeah, okay. In the movie Legends of Metru Nui, we very, very clearly at the start of that movie see Whenua, during his archiving while he's still Matoran, we see him using some kind of touchscreen device. I asked Greg about this on the LEGO message boards. He said that device is absolutely not canon, and they all write on stone still.
What the hell?
Okay, so what you're telling me is that he adapted Nova Blasts from Bionicle the game into canon because he liked it, but he does not want the Matoran to have convenient modes of writing.
Absolutely.
See, I
Okay.
can understand him refusing to add wheels to the Bionicle universe. Because that, at least, it sets a design precedent. It sets some limits for what you can do, and that breeds creativity.
Wait
And
a
you
minute.
see things like the walking tanks on legs and shit like that.
Wait
But
a minute.
They have AT-ATs?
Yes, I'm just...
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so apparently they have carts that can be drawn by the crabs. Well, how do the carts move?
Oh, shit. Levitation discs. There you go.
Oh, fuck, I forgot. We already established that.
Yeah.
Just stick a... They don't have wheels, they have magic frisbees.
They
don't
use
have
the
wheels.
discs as wheels.
I was about
Wait
to
a
say they
minute.
have 4 sideways wheels that
Wait.
float instead of rolling.
Oh, shit. The Kanoka discs in the movie are rendered more similarly to Lego's pieces for train wheels than the actual part that they use.
Look, it's not a wheel, it's a disc of rolling.
It's a disc. It's a disc of Limp Biscuit.
moving on.
Moving
Yeah.
right along.
So, moving on. So Nakama runs in with the Vahki, who, of course, the Vahki can fly because all the bad guys can fly.
Yeah.
That's just a thing they can do.
Especially the ones that have a crab walker mode.
Yeah, the Vahki do have a crab walker
Yeah.
mode. Why would they ever use that if they can fly?
Yep, they can be bipeds, they can be quadrupeds, and they can be nodrupeds. I don't think that's the term.
I don't think
like
that's even a word, Josie.
I know, I just said I don't think that's the term. Why can they transform into crabs if they can fly?
I mean, we're gonna find out in the next episode that even Nidhiki and Kraka can fly, so...
But he's so big.
All the bad guys can fly if they just fold their legs up.
Why is
Yeah,
he
that's
so
all you
big?
need to do. That's the secret. Just go into the lotus position and you can fly.
We'll see. The clear answer for this is because they couldn't be bothered animating running anymore.
Oh yeah, running is very hard to animate.
Yeah.
That is the
Mixed
entire
Bionicles?
purpose for why characters have wheels and stuff. Yeah.
But,
Anyway,
yeah,
so
so-
Sundari.
yeah, so Nakama finds out more or less where Voisola is, and she goes to do that, and then we chapter break to Vakama, who is shooting at Morbuzakh vines with freeze discs.
Oh fuck! Have we not mentioned the Morbuzakh? It's been 45 minutes.
I mean, they got a brief mention earlier on, but this is their proper introduction. So,
Oh,
yeah, the
good.
Morbuzakh is a big old plant that is destroying the city, and everyone hates it.
Yeah.
But nobody can kill it.
Oh yeah, fuck. We just finished with the Nokama, but there was like a person talking to some of the police robots and was like, "Well, she said she was a Toa, but I think it might be a trick from the weeds."
Yes, because the weeds have always been known to transmogrify into Toa.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's sort of indicative of the sort of
culture
vibe
of
of
Metru Nui.
yeah, because sort of the vibe is like they've all been indoctrinated to trust TuragaNuva and literally nothing else.
Because
Yeah,
it's the Ministry of Love.
I need to add propaganda Duma posters to my to-do list.
The movie
dude, did-
has propaganda Duma
Yeah.
posters.
Never mind.
Not
then.
only that, online they released some Vahki animations, like hyping up the Vahki. They're all like spoofs of communist propaganda movies.
I do remember those.
And those are the last animations Templar would ever do for Bionicle.
I
Yep.
didn't know they were still around as a company.
Yeah, they followed the Lightstone and Biomedia Project accounts like yesterday, actually.
I didn't know.
And they just released their last program with detailing the making of Metru Nui online game, and they showed off a couple of concept sketches for Makuta, which are really cool, and we might be using as inspiration for ours.
Yeah,
Put those on screen.
I didn't know.
Wham.
I didn't know Templar was still around until last week. Yeah. Good on them.
Pretty cool.
Good on them. I'm glad Lego wasn't responsible for killing them.
Mm-hmm.
I
So
do not
Vakama
like
goes
being
into the Reclamation yard, which is where all the broken shit goes.
Yeah.
And he talks to the crazy caretaker, who's just like, yeah, I talk to the masks sometimes.
This
love
is
this
my
guy.
This is my favorite character in the entire arc.
Just the crazy caretaker.
Yeah.
Sometimes I like to talk to the garbage. It's my the garbage is my friends.
He's a raccoon.
And I really like the writing on how Vakama thinks of the Reclamation Yard. Just the characterization that this location is viewed as the symbol of failure for all the red ones.
Yep.
Well, I made a disc, but there's a tiny crack in it, so it's garbage, and I hate myself, and I want to die.
I mean, to be fair, a tiny crack in any of their exports could spell disaster, so they have to get rid of it.
Yep, big mood though. I feel like garbage because I made a tiny mistake.
Yep. So I forget the exact context for this, but we do get a mention of the twin suns here. So yeah, Metru Nui has 2 suns in the sky. That's a thing.
But how could that be when it's underground?
How can it have a sky at all when it's underground?
Thinking emoji.
How are they looking at the stars?
Thinking
On top of
emoji.
their crystal towers.
Thinking emoji, thinking emoji, thinking emoji, thinking emoji,
Yep.
thinking emoji.
The ground must be fiber optic.
Because occasionally I post that emoji 5 times in a row.
So Vakama is fighting some more Morbuzakh, and he fires a teleportation disc at them. And doesn't know where he teleports them to. They probably killed some people wherever they ended up.
Well, I want to point out, actually, that we haven't really established yet, but the Morbuzakh is basically one huge plant. If you're teleporting one vine, either you're going to teleport the entire plant out of the city and solve the city's entire problem, or you're going to sever the vine, and wherever it ends up, it's just going to be dead.
The disc has the discs.
You're not going to be, like, teleporting the vine, and it's just going to, like, Gmod stretch its way across the island, still connected to the main route.
So
I like the idea that it's. I like
So-
the idea that it just appears in someone's house.
So the teleportation discs probably have a size limit based on their power level, and if the one vine he teleported didn't end up attached to the king root, it'd probably just do it because like when you apparently the Morbuzakh have seeds. And
Yeah, I was going to bring that up.
And they're
Like,
not
the
attached-
Morbuzakh can grow independently from the king root. It just likes to connect back up with it.
yeah,
It usually will.
so
But by the time, the way I see it, by the time the vine is big enough to cause any trouble, I would wager a guess that it's already connected to the root.
Yeah,
Probably.
so if Vakama teleports a vine away, if it doesn't teleport somewhere that it can dig through the ground, then it's going to die. But these things can dig through pretty much anything, it seems. So I think wherever he teleports it to is fucked.
Well, regardless of whether it's alive or not on impact, it probably kills
I
someone.
just like to imagine there's a Matoran eating soup or whatever, whatever the fuck they eat, and then fucking tree appears in their house.
Yeah, they're just eating soup through their hands because that's what they do.
Yeah, it's established later on in the story that there's another species that, like, eats their food and actually consumes and digests it instead of absorbing the energy from it directly, because the former is considered repulsive by every other inhabitant of the Matoran universe.
So they're like gems in Steven Universe.
Yep. The Matoran can eat, they just don't like it.
So does that mean that scene of Gali in Mask of Light was her just like having was like her eating a bag of potato chips or something?
Pretty much.
What scene are you talking about?
The one where she had her
Where she
hands
sticks
in the
her
water.
hands in the lake.
She's absorbing elemental power from the water.
Yeah,
She's
That's
probably
not
drinking
the
it
same
too.
thing as eating.
that is how they eat, though.
Yeah.
Can we go back to talking about the book? I like the book
Yeah.
we're reading, and not the book that
Yeah.
we've already read.
So, oh yeah, I forget actually. In each of these chapters, they do find the Matoran they're looking for. They don't split that up. So yeah, Nakama back in the last chapter did find Voisola at some point and rescued her
She
from
was just teetering
whatever.
on a rooftop, doing absolutely nothing to stabilize herself.
Yeah,
Uh,
she was just there. Nothing was forcing her off the rooftop. She just fell off.
I interpreted it as she found out that her crush was Toa now, and thought, "Ooh, I'm gonna put myself in mortal danger so she can rescue me, and I can cop a
Oh,
feel
goddammit,
for
that's probably true.
Titties!
But yeah, in Vakama's case, he finds Nuri underneath some like broken blocks or whatever. All the Matoran are under broken blocks for some reason. That's just a thing.
Yeah,
That's a holdover from the
It's
promo
fucking-
CDs.
It's the Lego franchise. What else would they be under?
True.
Da-da-da.
And much like Voisola, Nuri is completely full of himself,
Yeah.
which is a common theme with these
So the
Matoran.
reason he was in the reclamation yard was because he had heard from just a fucking stranger that a mask he made was actually perfect, and he went back to the junkyard to find it, and it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess he like pulled it and the crate fell on him like a fucking carrot on a stick or whatever. Like,
No, I imagine it's like one of those like box traps with a stick under it.
yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I meant to say. I said carrot on a stick. That's a different thing. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, so Nuri is an idiot, not a horse.
Nope. Well, now when you think about it, aren't we all just horses?
Nuju you think?
Well, they do say only fools and horses work, and these Matoran sure do work hard. So
Yep.
make of that what you will.
Anyway,
Except
so
when they don't.
yep.
And they just want to steal discs.
So apparently the reason Nuri hates Vakama is because he was a great mask maker. He taught Vakama everything he knew, and then Vakama got better than him. And he was real
Yeah,
pissed,
pretty much.
and he's real bitter about that.
Yeah, Nuri is like those artists that go on Twitter and say, OMG, how are you 14 and this good? Which is something that I do daily, so I can relate.
Only the difference is Nuri actually vehemently hates Vakama because of this.
Yeah.
Like Voisola, I don't get the idea that Voisola hates Nakama. She's just kind of jealous.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's
Notice me,
that.
senpai.
Anyway,
So now we have, let's see, what is this part? I don't actually remember what part this is.
hold on, I'll see if it's in my notes.
I think this might be the...
Waka
chapter 6. Yeah,
Nagi.
this is the Wenua one. Okay.
Yep. I
Okay.
was about to say.
Oh boy, I have some problems with this chapter. So
Yeah. So
we start
Here
off.
we go!
We start off immediately with Wenua. You know, he's looking for Tahuti, and you know, he has some altercations above ground. He's like, oh, how do I get in? He finds the levers. He gets in. Whatever. The archives have the shittiest security in the world.
well,
But-
to be fair, they think that their system is too hard to break into for anyone to actually break in. So the security guard. He doesn't believe that Wenua is a Toa or that he is Wenua and works here. So he's
True.
just all like, well, you can try to break in, but it's not going to work, and then it works. And he's all like, oh, I guess you do work here, because that's the only
Yep.
possible way you could know the combination. I think he just guessed the
He did.
combination.
Yeah. It literally
Yeah.
says like he
Well,
didn't know what they changed it to that day, so he just guessed. So anyway,
And
at some
I
point,
should point out, too, that they just happened to change the combination in such a way, like it's randomized every day. But today's randomization just happened to be exactly 1, 2, 3.
So you know what? I started this line of conversation saying their security wasn't shit, but I think that specific security guard was shit.
Probably.
Like, he
yeah.
literally flipped the levers in order, and it worked.
So anyway, so Whenua is looking for Tahuti in the archives, and
Tahuti!
the text says he didn't even know what his mask power might be yet. And this is a problem that I've had with this section of the story for a long, long time, which is how the hell did these Toa not know what their mask powers were? They live in a city with mask makers constantly making masks, including one on their team. How do they not know what the masks do?
And Vakama is like...
It's established much later on, and here as well with Lekon, that different masks can have vastly different shapes depending on the Toa, and... Though it also depends on how the Toa was transformed, what form they decided to take when they were being transformed. They may not even recognize the masks. I mean, look at, say Onawa's Great Komau compared to the original Noble Komau, or the Matatu.
Okay, that is true. The masks seen on the Matoran before they turned into Toa do seem pretty different than the ones that the Matoran that have the same goddamn masks are wearing.
Yeah,
so
there are Matoran in the movie.
But
there are Matoran in the movie that they wear hunas, they wear Komaus.
Except
but they look nothing like the hunas and Komaus that the main cast wear.
That is true.
Except that there is a year later down the line where a group of Matoran find a mask of telepathy. And they know it's a mask of telepathy because they can't actually utilize it, but it gives them a headache when they wear it. So they know it's a mask of telepathy. How come these guys don't know what their stuff is?
Specifically Vakama, like, he's the one that really makes me mad about this, because he's been a mask maker his entire life. He's apparently the best mask maker. You'd think he'd know, like, or at least have an idea of what these masks are.
Is it stated that Vakama doesn't know what his is, or does he just not know how to use it?
It doesn't seem like any of them know what their masks are.
It states that he doesn't know what his power is, but
he
does say at the start of the movie, when he... not the movie, the book. When he's trying to make the Mask of Time, he makes a mask and he tries to put it on to find out what it does. And it has no power, so he can't work out what it does. So he doesn't just know from looking at it what it does.
Well,
he has to
it means that he's doing his job wrong, because he's supposed to be carving them into a shape to indicate what power they have.
Well, like Liam said, the designs of the masks don't necessarily... later
masks can also have additions put onto them to make them deviate from their original forms even further. Like the scope on Nuju's Matatu was canonically added later on by Vakama.
Yeah,
which is weird because he supposedly doesn't know Nuju. But
it's later established.
Well, I mean, it's probably just like a made-to-order kind of thing.
Yeah,
so you don't know who your client is.
Yeah. So like, it's established later on in some canon somewhere. Maybe Greg said it. I don't fucking know. That masks can basically look however the fuck they want. It's just that the shapes that are traditionally attributed to certain mask powers are, in fact, literally just a tradition.
Yeah. Anyway.
And this is another instance of like Lego. So like, I got talking on the server a while back of how much better Bionicle could have been if it hadn't been limited by the sets. And, if I had control over a G3, for instance, I would either eliminate sets entirely or make them like a modular building kit similar to Warhammer. And this is a good example of that, where like, because there's only a certain amount of parts that you're allotted per wave, you can only do so much with them. And this is, even more indicative later on, where you have characters like, what's his name? Starts with a TR. He wears the Mask of Charisma, which is literally just the adaptive How.
But with horns.
Basically. But no, it's a completely different mask. Or, as we'll find out later, another character that basically wears Duma's mask, except no, it's not Duma's mask.
I think I read somewhere that Toa was meant to be Duma, but...
Yeah.
It was, and the other one was meant to be another certain Toa that we won't talk about.
But they ended up reusing them for different characters. and just retconning that, oh no, those characters' masks were made in a specific shape to honor certain fallen heroes that are not
Yeah. So anyway, but back to chapter 6. So
Tahuti's wandering around a floor of the museum he's never been on because someone told him that they had a fucking scorpion that they already fucking had at the museum.
Yeah, pretty much.
Hey, I'll trade you another scorpion that you already have for a fucking magic frisbee.
Yeah.
Also,
they had
one
a
of
blue
6
one and
magic
it was a
frisbees in
purple.
the world.
Also, the note that he'd received came from Matoran, specifically Voisola, and even if he didn't recognize the name, he would know it was a Gamatoran, and they don't know. The scorpions are native to the desert. No one ever wanders around the city, apparently, so why would a Gamatoran have a fucking desert scorpion?
Except for Takua, who is here.
Yeah.
Takua!
I don't know if it's ever established in any of the books. I don't think it is, but Takua actually has an entire squad of Vahki specifically dedicated to keeping him at his station during work hours so he doesn't wander off.
I never knew that.
I love that. I love that so much.
That's great.
Anyway,
Takua was an Usul wrangler, wasn't he, or something?
I think so.
Oh, and the best part is Tahuti doesn't even believe that the person has a scorpion because he's not stupid. He's
I
just
just wanted to see what would happen.
He's not stupid. He's just stupid. He's
I'll
stupid.
trade you the most powerful relic in my society for a scorpion, sure.
I will trade you the most powerful relic in my society for a hypothetical scorpion.
Yeah.
Because
Scorpion that I don't
at
even
least
think you
At
have.
least he was smart enough to not actually bring the disc.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's
at
true.
least
Oh.
he's not stupid. He's smart.
Well,
stupid.
Cash
Yeah,
on delivery.
But perhaps he wasn't stupid enough to bring the disc, or maybe he just didn't want to go get it, because as we'll find out later, that disc was extremely well hidden and dangerous to get.
Yeah. So apparently, destiny is that.
Well, actually, maybe not. I don't
Okay,
know. It
so
was just in
apparently
a closet,
the discs.
actually.
Apparently, the discs.
A closet like 10 stories underground.
True.
Literally in a closet full of random trash.
So it turns out the hard part of getting the disc isn't finding them because these 6 random idiots found it. The hard part is getting them.
Yeah. Here's a quick thing. This is actually the cool thing about Chapter 6. This is where, Whenua, he's an archivist. He likes cataloguing things and putting them underground. This ties back to that moment in the 2003 book where he put all those Krata in stasis tubes.
Yeah.
Perhaps the
Never
same
told
kind of stasis
anyone
tubes.
about it, and then immediately got them destroyed.
Yeah, because it's a really bad system for archiving things. That's why museums That's why museums only put up dead things.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, I like that little detail. He's a compulsive archivist. That's just what he does.
It makes for very interesting action set pieces though.
Well,
Because
we need to make a mod of Metru Nui online game now where Wenua's hut is just a hoarder's house.
okay, Liam, do it. You're the boss. You're the guy who manages that game.
Yeah. Anyway, so while he's looking around for looking around for Tahuti, he encounters a Rahkshi of Heat Vision, which he conveniently can't remember the exact name of it because Lego never trademarked one. and then we find out that no one knows where the Rahkshi come from. Then I got to ask, how do the Turaga know this in 2003?
Evidently,
How do they know that they're Makuta spawn?
Evidently, they don't know what Makuta are yet.
I mean, to be fair, they didn't know where the bow rock came from either, but they shoved them in tanks just as quickly.
Well, see, they never. It doesn't seem like they ever found out about where the Borak were from. They just knew They just knew stuff about them. Like they literally don't seem to know anything about Rahkshi other than they're real bad. Don't piss them off.
Yeah, and then in 2003 they just conveniently know, these are the sons of Makuta. That's what they are.
Surely there would have had to have been at least a few cases of infected masks on Metru Nui, but we never hear about that either.
Well,
There is, while Wynn is going through the archives, it does mention at one point he nearly knocks a box full of Grana over and destroys the world.
Yeah.
I love it. He's just like, wow, that would have been bad.
That's one problem I have with this chapter as well, is that the Grana would be completely inert.
Yeah, they're not supposed to do
Because
anything.
the Voisola are asleep.
Well, no, because you remember we were complaining about how the book started with a Borak that just woke up out of nowhere?
Yeah,
That's
but
true.
That,
These are the ones that couldn't sleep well.
That doesn't happen at this point in the story. Like they have been established, if not by this point, then maybe a little bit later, that they just randomly will dig into Borak nests and they'll completely disassemble them and carry all of the Borak back to the archives and
Now,
put them in tanks. And they don't
now,
wake up there.
I assume that they can occasionally wake up. It's just no one really knows how or why. They just sort of happen sometimes.
Even so, I wouldn't exactly be nervous about the Grana falling out of the case at that point.
I would be, because you never know. One of them might randomly wake up. And just be a little squiggling slug creature that you can easily smush.
Could be.
On the subject of the Turaga knowing what the Rahkshi are, where they come from, I'm not certain on this, but I don't want to say too much. Weren't the Turaga at some point, when on the island of Mananui, in contact with some people that would have known?
Maybe. Yeah, I suppose. That's fair enough. Yeah.
I actually have no idea what you're referring to.
I would have just assumed the Makuta fucking told them.
Well, the Turaga know things like what the Nuva symbols are, and that Kanohi Nuva showed up, and things that they would only know if they're in contact with certain people.
I'll be honest, the only way they could have possibly known what the Nuva symbols were is if someone told them, so they definitely know shit that someone must have told them. So it was like, someone must have shown up and they were all like, alright, so there are going to be guys that show up, they might fall into some goo and turn into big boys. So if there's a little rock, so if a rock spontaneously appears in the church, don't lose it. Don't lose
Here's
it.
the plot
read it
summary.
in the stars. It's fine. It's fine. There's no plot holes here.
And eventually Makuta's gonna get real bored and send over some Rahkshi. But BT Dubs, those things come from him. So here's a mask. I'm just gonna conveniently not tell you the part about what happened.
Okay.
Where the guy comes from.
This actually brings up a point. Here's how they know. They know because during this point, when they're like between them arriving on Maranui and the Toa Mata arriving, the Krata are just set loose and infect a bunch of masks, and then the masks that are worn by Rahi or Matoran, that they become under the control of Makuta. So it's easy enough to put two and two together. Oh, Rahkshi have Krata in them.
That's fair.
Krata come from Makuta. Therefore, Rahkshi come from Makuta.
It all makes sense. Except for why we're talking, for why we are, what are we, 3 hours in?
We're an hour in now.
I'm sorry, I blame myself for these things.
So anyway, apparently Muwaka are the natural predators of Rahkshi. Those tigers that Kopaka hates, they just eat Rahkshi or something.
Because apparently Rahkshi have natural predators.
Yep. Rahkshi. Giant snake monsters that are more powerful than the Toa, easily defeated by a fucking cat.
Yeah. Cats that have extendo necks. I don't think we ever mentioned that before. But that is canon.
That's canon, yeah.
I swear to God, I forgot.
was always trying to figure out why a Moaka can do that.
I forgot that bullshit was canon. And then I also forgot that nobody knows why they do it, or how. Which means
I like to think they're just like those glove things, like the little toy plastic
basically how
guns.
it works.
Yes. Now, how do you adapt that to something that has biological components?
It's a robot cat.
It's a robot cat. It's a cyborg cat.
Okay, Josie, have you ever seen, like, a chicken extend its neck? It's like that.
Oh, okay. So it's a chicken cat. It's a chicken... It's okay. Sure.
But what about the chicken bowl?
Basically,
Oh, no.
basically, Lego is telling them that the toys' gimmicks all have to be canon, no matter how little sense they make. And they did a good job at coming up with an explanation for most of the gimmicks that they put in the toys. But they had jack shit for the Muaka, and just had to go, you know what? The Matoran, they don't fucking know how the necks work. They just don't.
You know what else?
How
You
the
know-
fuck do they work?
You know what other toy gimmick is canon? Muscle snakes.
Yeah.
The
Muscle
Tarakava
snakes.
are just snakes with really jacked arms.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. And
anyway.
the Monas could receive Wi-Fi signals.
So anyway,
That one was a joke. Did Greg? Someone ask Greg.
so
If anyone asked him,
eventually,
he'd just say
on.
probably, yeah.
eventually, Wynn does manage to sneak Tahuti out of there amid all the confusion of tigers and Rahkshi battling it out. And apparently, Tahuti was trapped there by Nidhiki. Now, I gotta ask, Nidhiki wants to find the Great Discs. Tahuti knows where one of the Great Discs are. Why did Nidhiki not interrogate Tahuti and find out where the disc is?
It's just a generic trope of villains that they want information, so we're gonna threaten to kill the one who can give us the information. There's no
He doesn't even kill him though. He just leaves him there and then goes away.
There's no real end goal here. It's just, you won't give me what I want. You're the only one who can give me what I want. I'm just going to let you die. Then no one gets to have what they want.
I suppose.
Think emoji.
Basically, Nidhiki's a very stupid.
Yeah. So then we move on to Nidhiki and the big brute Cracker, telling a mysterious unknown Matoran, it's Akmu, the ball slime boy, telling him to get the discs, because that's what he's got to do. And he's the only one who's untrustworthy enough to do it.
Yeah, because he's always been a dick, apparently.
Yeah.
He's just always been a dick. Always.
And this is before he's been heavily influenced by Makuta. This is just him in his natural state.
Yeah, we're gonna find. Yeah. He's right now. He's just kind of generally a dick, but like later on, they decide. Well, he's not a dick enough to poison all of his friends, so they establish that he was like raised by Makuta later on.
Yeah.
So when someone talked about this random YouTube esports company being an illegitimate, their name was like Bifatuki or something, so they were like, oh, that sounds like a Bionicle name, the illegitimate son of Makuta. So I took their logo, made it say Bionicles, and replaced this weird black logo icon that they have with a black row.
Nice.
No one noticed.
So moving on then, we get to Nuju in his homeland, which I've dubbed in my notes Silent Russia, because that's what it reminds me of.
Yeah,
Everyone's super quiet, and I imagine they have Russian accents for some reason.
Everyone's super quiet, and okay, so everyone has paid mind to the Toa, all the Matoran have paid mind to the Toa, but none of them really give it much of a shit. They're just kind of, look
pretty
at
much.
that. Look at that, this is
They
Toa
all
guy.
spend all day watching the stars, which apparently just randomly just whiz about. They don't stay still.
Like, nobody even notices Nuju until he, like, talks to one, and that person's just like, yeah, I don't fucking care, leave me alone.
Yeah,
the
pretty
guy you want is over there, fuck off.
Oh, a new Toa. Nice.
Oh, and the
Yep.
guy they want is also an idiot. The guy he wants is also an idiot. He's looking for... what? How do you pronounce his name?
Eerie, I always
Eerie.
said.
I always
know.
pronounced it
Eerie?
Irie. I always pronounced it Irie.
I thought it was Arai.
Aaron
Aaron Let's look it up.
Aaron Eckhart.
Eerie
Alden Ehrenreich.
Aaron Hansen.
01.
Ego
Okay,
Raptor.
so according to Biosector 01, it is pronounced Arie.
Is area, yeah.
Excuse me?
Arie.
It's dumb,
Area.
but that's how it's said.
Get the fuck.
Arie. Can we just call him Aaron?
Sure. So Aaron Hansen
Yeah,
is,
Aaron Hansen, guest star of the next episode of Gathered Friends, make it canon.
Yeah. So he's been going around causing a right old ruckus, asking about great discs and stuff, and everyone hates him for being loud.
Hates him because he's very loud, unlike everyone else in the whole fucking borough of Po-Metru. He's a fucking idiot. Everyone else is like a scholar and just like does all their book thinkings and their smarts. And he's basically an errand boy who runs errands for people because he's the only one that's too stupid to actually read. So, like, he dreams of one day being a scholar, but he doesn't appear to have the patience for it. So why does he want this? And everyone else agrees. Everyone's all like, "Yeah, sure, you can be a scholar one day. Now go do your fucking job.
Now go get me a coffee."
Go get me a coffee! Even though I live in Iceland and I like the ice cold. Get me an iced coffee! I know it sucks! Fuck you!
So, I guess Nixie, back in Gakhoro, was sort of subconsciously inspired by these guys, because she ended up studying the stars. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
Even though I guess she doesn't remember any of this, but whatever.
Well, some of the Matoran of Metru Nui subconsciously hold on to some of their memories. Because I think, Nuparu appears near the end of the book, and there's a line that says that he one day dreams of building a fucking mech suit.
Building a mech suit.
Specifically, he dreams of building a mech suit.
He wants to be Iron Man.
He wants to be
Someone
Iron
beats
Man.
him to it.
He specifically dreams of building a mech suit for Matoran so they can more easily defend themselves, and then he has his mind erased, and then he fucking does it anyway.
Yep.
Nuparu's a pro!
Yeah, so Nuju's going around.
Mind wipes.
Nuju eventually finds Area, and he takes him in.
He's stuck in a Jenga tower.
Yeah. And so after he gets him out of the Jenga tower, they do get back to ground level, more or less. And then Area tries to run off, and Nuju's just like, "Nope, fuck that. I'm making a wall of ice. I don't care if it stays there for 6 hours. That's that now. It'll melt eventually, I guess."
Around this point, hadn't one of the other Matoran tried to run off, and they use a disc of teleportation on them? Don't the discs just teleport randomly?
Don't the discs do what? The discs do what?
Don't the discs just teleport randomly? So how did he know that just like smacking him with this disc would bring him right back to him?
I guess he didn't know that.
For all we knew, he could have.
Because it was
established
established just like 2 chapters ago that hey, we use a teleportation disc on this Morbuzakh volume. It just fucks off to Kingdom Come, who the fuck knows where.
Yeah.
But in the coming chapters, we're just going to use it on this one Matoran to bring it exactly in front of my feet because the discs just work however the hell we want them to work now. I guess.
Pretty much.
I have in my notes here. This is unrelated to the previous point, but it's something that's been relevant in the last 3 chapters. None of them Matoran give a shit about the Toa. Compared to in Legend of Metru Nui, when the Matoran just fucking drop everything and defy the laws of physics, they're so excited to see a Toa. I think it's refreshingly different, and it's fucking hilarious. Because, when it was all like, yeah, you're fucking Toa, clearly, I have no reason to doubt you're a Toa. You're not allowed in the fucking... You're not allowed in the fucking museum.
Yeah, well, I suppose it will be established later that Toa are a fairly common occurrence on Metru Nui, less so in recent months, but, they've been around.
Yeah, but, so far, they haven't even believed that these guys are Toa. It's hilarious how little they give a shit about these...
I mean, to be fair, they have, in Book 1, they have been waiting for centuries for the Toa to arrive.
I know.
It's a thing that's been spoken of in legend.
It's just really amusing reading here how little they give a shit. We don't... I think the next Toa in line has a warm welcome, and that's cute. But it's just... The other 5, it's just hilarious.
Yeah. Should we get onto him then? So, Toa Matau, he's he's pretty cool. People like him.
Yeah, and he shows up and he's like, hey, I need to find a guy who does the stuff. And they're all like, yeah, I totally believe you are who you say you are and that you're a Toa. He's over there. Bye. I love you.
Yeah. And
no, actually, the first guy Matau talks to thinks he's playing a joke. He believes it's Matau, but not that he's a Toa.
Yeah.
He thinks he's cosplaying.
Gee, I wonder if that could be foreshadowing to his mask power.
Dun dun dun, and then the rest of the Matoran, including big people in the basically everyone except that guy believes he is both Matau and a Toa, and just does whatever he asks them, because apparently the goofballs of the whole island are actually the only people who know what they're doing.
I guess they just don't give a shit. They're just like, whatever. He says he's a Toa. He might as well be.
I aspire to give as few shits as Lay Matoran.
No, but specifically, they don't give a shit, but in a good way.
Yeah. So, Matau travels around his Metru via the chute system, and why are chutes so freaking dangerous?
And why are they so complicated? I want to ask how these things work. Supposedly, they're basically just like magnetized liquid protodermis inside of a magnetic field. How the hell do you breathe liquid magnetized protodermis without a cow?
Yeah, fair point. And also,
but in the movie, it's not like it can be. It's not like it can be said. Oh well, it's like extremely aerated or whatever. You can see it's clearly liquid in the movie. There are bubbles coming from the mouths of the fucking Toa going through the chutes.
I like to think that rather than what's depicted in canon, that they're more similar to the train tunnels in Black Panther. The train tunnels in Black Panther are lined with magnetized vibranium, which I guess is the same basically. Oh my god! The most versatile substance on Earth, and they use it to make frisbees.
Yeah.
They play, not only that, they play frisbee with discs that can randomly teleport them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway,
Akilini. That's a sport.
So,
Oh god, if
so
someone
it's
uses a
depicted-
reconstituted
Don't they
random
actually
disc in an
ride
Aquilini match?
No, I'm sorry. In Aquilini, don't they actually ride the fucking discs too?
They do. They ride on levitation discs.
So that's fucking weird. Anyway, so the chutes are basically subway tunnels, but instead of being tunnels, they're actually just huge fucking cylinders of magnetized liquid protodermis.
Let's simplify. It's Futurama.
It's
Yeah, it's Futurama tubes, but you can enter and exit through the sides.
But they're not tubes though. They're cylinders of just liquid. It's like it's stupid. I like to think that they're more similar to what's depicted in Black Panther, where the sides of the tubes are liquid and and inside it's air, and it's how do you make air go? There's like a vacuum running through the tubes. Fuck.
Anyway, so
Even so, like going at those speeds, you still wouldn't be able to breathe.
yeah, so here's the thing, right? Apparently there are chute stations where Matoran, get on and get off of the chutes, but also it's commonplace to just jump in and jump out at any point. How do you land and not die?
See, another thing is, I just assumed that they could breathe protodermis because isn't it canon that they're made of protodermis, basically?
They are.
Yes,
They are.
but you can't breathe liquid.
Yeah,
No.
I know. I know. That is established later on.
I mean, you
apparently
can
they
actually.
don't breathe protodermis.
You can actually breathe liquid,
I assume
as long as it's aerated enough.
I assume that they could breathe protodermis, and as established in this fucking book, they can't, but they travel in it. Sure, alright. They didn't keep not a lot of good. It doesn't make sense.
Also, the chutes sometimes crisscross each other, as
And by-
Matau finds on his way,
And by
where he's headed
sometimes-
straight for a transport cart and has to, maneuver himself in such a way that he grabs onto the back of it instead of smacking straight into it.
And
Imagine you're driving on the highway, but you are the car, and you have no control over yourself. That's the shoot system in a nutshell.
Yep, and imagine that the city planner who comes up with the street layouts is an idiot.
Yeah.
I just put something in the chat for the the prospect of breathable protodermis.
I'm just seeing the buff snake. Oh,
it's in the general chat. Yeah.
That's a mouse.
Now I'm seeing the buff snake too. Put that in the episode.
I was planning on that.
I assume we put it up when it was relevant. But you know what? Put it up again, and then put it up half an hour again, half an hour from now.
Now make it blue.
And
put a roo-roo on it.
And now make it do caramel dancing.
Disco dancing.
I'm sorry, I just saw a post the other day where like somebody was like, "What the fuck is caramel dancing? Imagine being this old."
And now put googly eyes on the buff snake, and on Liam, and on me, and on you, and don't do any of this.
Now turn everyone into reg sprites.
Hell yeah!
Now talk about the book.
And now let's talk about the book and delete all of the digressions, including me, and to edit me out of the podcast entirely.
So Onewa is the last one to find his Matoran, and
Onewa.
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 So Akhmu is just sitting on top of a sculpture, looking down like, oh boy, bet you can't catch me. And Onewa's like, fuck you, I'm gonna get you.
You get down from the Washington Monument right now, mister!
Yeah, and so after he catches Akhmu and takes him to the other Toa with all the Matoran,
I'm sorry, we're just gonna skip over the part where Onewa gets to the top of the sculpture to get him, and then Nidhiki shows up, and Akhmu's just like, nope, and leaps off of the sculpture and starts fucking Spider-Manning his way through them with Onewa.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Onewa is really good at Spider-Manning with his proto-pitons.
Yeah, unlike the previous years, the stone guy is actually the one that prefers swinging on vines and cables.
Yeah.
There'll be no
Is that how you
ground
pronounce
walking
the
here.
tools?
Pitons? I don't know.
Windfly.
Pitons?
I will be perfectly honest with you. I didn't know that those things were a fucking real tool until I read this book for this podcast.
I literally looked it up while reading this book, pitons are a real thing.
It's different from a piton, like in piton twirling. This is a completely different thing. It's actually a climbing spike.
I always thought it was just a word they made up because...
Yeah, no, it's a real thing.
It's real. I know that now.
But yeah, in this case, his are attached to chains, which he can extend really far and latch onto stuff from far away. Yeah. So he can do that. And yeah, so he catches Akhmu trying to escape through the chutes, and he's like, "Oh boy, there's the Nidhiki spider boy around here. We should probably go." And so they do go, and they meet up with all the other Toa back at the Great Temple, because I guess that's just their de facto meeting place now.
And then the funniest scene ever happens, where they have a big old conversation, big old group conversation. One of the Matoran is lying to us. I wonder which one. And
then everyone just immediately says, "Yeah, it's Akhmu."
Yeah, that's just fucking hilarious. Of course it's Akhmu. He's the only one that you definitely know lied to you. Because he did.
I literally have in my notes, in italics, of course it's Akhmu.
He claimed he was stuck on top of the Mount Washington Monument, and then he turns out he was fucking not. The other ones, you didn't... one of them is lying to you. You don't know the other 5 lied to you. The one that did lie to you is probably the one who lied to you.
Yeah.
This feels almost like one of those things where the story team was like, "Hey, Greg, you need to have some kind of hook at the end of the book to make readers get the next one." It's okay, they're idiots and don't know which one's
Who could
the
it
lying
be?
one.
I just really like that they all just think, Why are we having this conversation? It's clearly this asshole.
Yeah. And then they just keep him around anyway.
And then they just
By the way, I want to establish one more thing with Onawa before we move on.
Yeah.
I love how his protopatons, or whatever, they're on chains in canon, and he has 2 of them. In the movie, it's literally just like he's carrying a rake.
Yup.
Yeah. Oh god, they look so stupid in the movie. I forgot.
I like to think that Onawa is the only Po-Matoran that has a hut with a lawn.
Just so he can rake it.
I have this rake. Oh shit! I have 2 rakes. I better get me a lawn.
You're right.
No,
You
I
should be the one best equipped to fight the Morbuzakh.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
No. I like to imagine he did have the lawn before, and as he's choosing his Toa tools from the start, he's just like, a rake, perfect.
So he gets on Vakama's case for making a stupid decision. Meanwhile, he makes the stupidest one.
Yeah.
I think Vakama makes a good decision. His decision is based in logic. Well, I'm already proficient with a frisbee launcher. I will use this fancy frisbee launcher.
True.
Like, the other ones are all like, I'm really excited. I'm gonna pick something I have no idea what the fuck it is.
And
Like,
yet they
whatever
all use them perfectly anyway, so it
They
doesn't
all,
really matter.
they all don't have any problems with them. Wenoa seems like a super big expert on these fucking sonic drills that he picked.
These
And,
drills that can lock together into a bigger drill.
yeah, like, he seems really proficient
My
with it.
drill is the drill that will pierce the heavens.
Yep, he seems really proficient with those. Nokama and Nuju just picked things that you hit stuff with. So I guess I guess it's hard. It's hard to be bad with something when its primary use is hitting something with it.
Yeah,
It'd be like being bad with a hammer,
pretty much.
which I am.
And
Da-da-da.
Matao chose these swords that can turn into wings because that's the only thing that the Air Toa are allowed to have for some reason.
Well, no, Lewa had an axe.
Yeah, but then he got wing swords.
Yep, he had an axe until he didn't have an axe anymore.
Yeah.
What did he have in 2008?
He had an electric sword and jetpacks.
Okay, so he.
Let's not get into that yet.
Yeah,
So he-
no, let's just leave it at that for now.
Yeah, let's just leave it at that right now. 2008.
Yeah. So anyway, the Toa split off into pairs with their respective Matoran to go find these great discs. Because
And
they figure, you know what, let's go do that.
And they play rock paper scissors with frisbees. For some
Yeah, they
reason.
literally decide by picking discs.
And Destiny has decided that all of the pairs should be the worst possible Toa to pair off.
Yeah.
The archivist and the prophesizer, the leader and the guy with control issues, and the teacher and the class clown.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or just the regular clown, because I don't think he would ever go. I don't think he went to school.
Yeah, Matao seems like he'd be a high school dropout.
Yep. I wonder if he even has a driver's license.
Well, he was a crash test dummy.
He was a crash test dummy, but you don't need to be a driver license for that.
They used him because they knew that if he couldn't crash it, it was definitely safe.
I love that idea. I love that idea that he was the best crash test dummy because he was the worst driver.
Yeah, that's great. Anyway, so yeah, Vakama and Onawa are going around looking for the Toa Metru Great Disc, and Vakama's like, right, I'm pretty sure it's in Dumpster Fire Town, which is where we melt all our stuff that's bad,
And also, I hate it.
and also I hate it because it means we can't learn anything.
I hate that we throw away our garbage because it means we can't study the garbage and make
He
better.
hates recycling.
We can't study the garbage and make better garbage to throw away.
I imagine Wynn would be very much on board with that mentality.
Yep, but he's not here. But he's not here because they play Destiny Frisbee rock paper scissors.
Yeah. So yeah, they go to the fire pits to do the thing. I'm getting really tired. So they go to the fire pits to get the disc, and they find that it's in the clutches of some Morbuzakh. which
Celium, that's why I drink energy drinks.
yeah, and the Morbuzakh seems to thrive in the heat. That will be important. And they get the disc and they reconstitute the Morbuzakh that's holding it into something completely monstrous and evil and should probably never be looked at again.
Yeah.
Doesn't it describe it as literally just like a living nightmare?
Yes.
Yes.
It's an eldritch horror.
And as Vakama said, or even before he did that, the Morbuzakh seems to be the only thing he's ever seen living inside the furnace. So
there is actually that there is a bit of a there is a reason to read the comics alongside the books, because there is, this part of the story was covered in the comics, and there is a visual representation of this monstrosity. Put that on screen.
I'm gonna look it up.
So,
I don't know what to look up. Liam, what do I look
Morbuzakh
up?
mutation?
Okay. Or
So,
wait.
It's on the BSO1 article for Morbuzakh.
Oh,
Okay,
good.
there you
Thank you.
So, well, you get that then.
Why do I know how to why do I know how to spell Morbuzakh?
It's a very stupid word. Probably quite memorable. So now we go to... Oh yes, Ice and Earth. They're off looking for the disc underground. And... Oh my goodness, that's horrifying.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen...
It's a sarlacc.
I've seen grosser plants, but not many. So this is the origin story for the sarlacc.
Quite so.
Wait. While we're still talking about this monstrosity,
Yeah.
what do you think? Do you think that it's still alive, or do you think that it's still technically a Morbuzakh, so it died at the end of the book?
I like to think it's different enough that it's still alive and it just lives there now.
It just lives in the center of a furnace.
Yeah.
Some poor fucking Matoran comes across it 1,000 years later and
In
just
the furnace.
screams as
Now
he
what?
dies.
So this is different than the furnace in that it's a pit of fire. Would it still be on fire when the Matoran get here?
I'm not sure. Is it flammable?
Well, see, it is a pit of fire.
Well, I mean the plant. Would the plant be flammable?
Well, the plant the plant thrives in the heat, so maybe not.
The plant absorbs
Yeah, the plant
Vakama's fire at one point.
Yeah. Like the Morbuzakh is apparently just if it's not invulnerable to heat, it absorbs heat, and whatever mutations happened to this thing didn't seem to take that away from it. So, yeah, maybe when the Matoran come to put Metru Nui back together, they come to the furnace and this thing is still here. So I was like, well, I guess we're going to be manufacturing a lot less masks than we used to. But they have like dozens, if not hundreds, of these fire pits, so they don't really need this one.
Yeah. I guess just, be careful not to fall in.
Well, I guess we'll just convert that into a fucking greenhouse for monstrosities, I guess.
So yeah, Wynn and Nuju, they encounter a giant enemy crab on their way to find the disc.
Yep.
And Nuju just sort of, he just locks up the door with an ice lock.
Yep.
Hey, Nuju, do you
like,
remember how your
"Fuck."
ice melts?
Yeah, it's real hilarious how it happens, because Whenua is like walking through the archives and Nuju's all like, could the disc be behind that door? And Whenua is all like, no. What about that door? No. What about that door? I know what's behind that door, and it's not a frisbee.
But what if I opened it anyway?
One more thing I want to bring up quickly, just before we move on.
Yeah.
Shoutouts to the limited edition Sponge Morbuzakh.
Oh yeah, that thing.
What?
Yeah, apparently there is a canon Lego product of the Morbuzakh, and it's a sponge.
I did not know
I've never
of this.
seen this.
I don't remember why I know it, but I was looking up something relevant. I was looking up something for a tweet. I was talking to someone on Twitter. I looked up something Bionicle related, and this fucking thing came up, and I was confused as shit.
There it is.
I like to think that I have nearly everything about Lego internalized. I had no idea they ever made a fucking sponge.
With the German Lego magazine, whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
okay.
just so baffled by that.
There's so many weird promotions for Bionicle stuff that you learn about when you start digging into it.
It's even
Yeah.
made. It's even made out of one of Lego's plastic colors. It's made. It's dark turquoise in color.
Yeah.
Look at it.
Okay. So yeah, they eventually find their great disc in a closet, as they do. So not much else to say there.
My point about Nuju and the doors was the reason they were dealing with a crab was because Nuju got fed up with Wenoa knowing about the place he works and not opening every fucking door. That Nuju just went and opened a door that Wenoa told him not to.
No, that was a different thing. The crab was a different one. He went into a room that was just empty except for a tank, and then a two-headed Karakava started trying to break its way out.
The point is, Nuju didn't believe that Wenoa knew what he was doing, that he basically lived in a museum and knew how museum work.
Honestly, Nuju is more of a liability than an asset at this point.
And Nuju learned a lesson. And that lesson being, shut the fuck up and do what you're told when you're walking around a fucking museum with the museum curator.
Yeah, pretty much.
He knows shit.
Yeah. So then we get to Nokama and Matau, going around, I believe, Gakoro, looking for that disc.
Gakoro.
Yeah. Metru, rather. Yes. It doesn't really matter. Koro just means village,
Actually,
Metru means city. Like,
I did want to ask a while back, I think in the first episode actually, are the Toa named for the towns, or are the towns named for their Toa?
Okay, so the elemental prefixes ta, ga, onu, po, le, and ko, those are sort of like universal constants. And the original 6 Toa, they were named after those, I believe.
That's about what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although Matau does mention that he thinks that after the Toa collect their discs, Duma is just going to rename all the Metrus after them.
Yeah.
So that's an amusing reference to 2001, I guess.
That'd be nice.
Although,
Yeah, I love that Matau's not like a Toa to be a hero. He's just like, yeah, everyone's gotta fucking love me.
oh no,
Yeah, he's in it for the fun.
He seems to be really into the idea of being a hero, but he also loves the idea of being worshipped like a god.
Yeah.
He's full of it. He's very full of himself, but not in a I don't give a shit about my peers kind of way. Just in a I am so hyped, save some fucking babies.
I'll save you so you can worship me later.
Basically, he's a superhero for basically the same way Saitama is from One Punch Man. He's like, yeah, I want to help people, but also I'm bored.
Moving on, then.
Yeah.
So these guys are going around Metru looking for the disc. They think it's probably near the Great Temple. I don't know. Actually, how did these two get away from the Great Temple and then go back? Like, if they knew the disc was near the Great Temple, why did they leave at any point?
Well, see, this is why they split us off into chapters, because they're assuming that children are going to forget that they were already at the temple 3 chapters ago.
Well, I must be a child, because I forgot until just now.
Chip, how old are you?
3.
Same. You know what? Let's just go.
Plus a few.
You know what? Let's just go around the table. Who else is 3? Right? Show of hands. Okay, that's all 6 of you.
I guess it's just us.
Alright, that's all 6 of you. Wait, there's a 7th hand. Who the fuck is that? Get out of here! Shoot, go away.
It's the Morbuzakh sponge.
Oh, it's the Morbuzakh sponge! Oh god, it has way more than 3 fingers. I guess the Morbuzakh sponge is the adult in the room. Well, I guess we all have to go to school. Do 3-year-olds go to school?
Are you quite finished?
So...
Liam! We're babies!
So through some altercations, they eventually lead some Vahki away from the Great Temple long enough to get near it, and Nakama's like, right, you 3 wait here, I'm gonna dive down and go get it.
And then the Vahki come right back.
And the Vahki come right back.
It turns out from the disc in the water village is in the water.
And
Who
it turns
knew?
out that it turns out that the policemen are more tenacious than anyone apparently gives them credit for, which is their job.
Yeah.
Real quick on the note of that stuff with the Vahki.
Yeah.
Does it seem weird to anyone else how quickly the Toa Metru are just down with like breaking the law and like avoiding like
They're Toa now.
misleading
There
the
is no
cops?
law for
I mean,
them.
they don't exactly have a choice.
They are the law.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty much like immediately once they become Toa, they're instantly suspicious, and they feel like the Vahki will just waste their time, I guess. So they're
Exactly.
As it's been established, Vahki do not listen, and they can't
Yeah.
speak Matoran anyways.
Okay.
I think.
Okay,
Sure, but, like-
so I get why Duma doesn't want them to be able to speak, but do the Matoran not ask what do they think the reason is for the Vahki not being able to speak?
because they're robots. I don't know.
Technological limitation, I'd imagine
Yeah.
they think it is.
Okay, but you've already built fucking robots that can move, that can function and think for themselves and move and turn into crabs and fucking fly. Well, and also brainwash people.
Yeah, I was gonna say that this is fucking mini love. I really don't like the idea that they can just touch you with a stick
Yeah.
and suddenly you're their spy.
Yeah, they
Everyone's very chill about like how creepy the Vaki's powers are.
like
This is just normal to them.
Yeah.
imagine if babies could fly but still couldn't talk. You'd be a little confused, right? If babies learned to fucking fly and defy the laws of nature.
Welcome
Here's
to
the
the
thing.
human race.
Oh,
Here's the
shit.
thing, right?
Oh.
You know how in the United States of America, the police...
Okay, here we go.
Okay, no.
yeah.
I need
It's
a
not going to go
Mountain Dew for
there.
this.
Okay. In the United States, the police have this slogan, to protect and serve. Well, the Vahki have a slogan too. Surrender or run.
Remember, kids, don't steal a candy bar
Resistance
unless
is futile.
you're white. Remember, kids, don't steal a candy bar unless you're white.
Oh boy. Anyway, so the let's see, where are we? So Nakama, she grabs the Great Disc. She just finds it, and she's like, "Oh, it's just in some jagged rocks. This is fine." It turns out the jagged rocks are teeth, and she's about to get chomped. But before we can find out what happens there, we got to cut back to Vakama and Onewa, who are
What a cliffhanger. Do you think Nokama, the Turaga from 2001, lives?
I think she died.
Yeah, I think she died.
Anyway,
Found the
so
new Nokama.
Anyway,
I'm sorry, but I have to bring this up. My friend, like, the moment you said, I think she died, my Twitter notification went off, and one of my friends just tweeted the words, "I wish." As if in response.
hell yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Anyway, Fireboy and Stone Boy, let's go.
So yeah, Fireboy and Stone Boy, they have been, they were exploring the Metru, the Toa Metru, that is, and they got knocked into a very slow-moving chute that takes them into one of those recycling fire pits. And Onua, still doesn't know what his mask power is, and so he's like, I should probably do something. And then he doesn't,
Should we
and lets
do
Vakama do
something?
everything.
We should do something.
I like to wonder if he did know what his mask power was, he'd be trying to mind control the garbage into helping them.
Spoilers. But
Spoilers for that mask
but
power
yeah,
that we
no.
knew he had in 2001, but he never used it.
actually, yeah, that's true. We do know
yeah.
what their mask powers are as audience members, but anyway. So yeah, Vakama's just like, okay, how about I take all this fire and put it in my hands? Because that's a thing he can do, as he figures out now. He didn't even know this was going to work, by the way.
I mean, he
just
is
did it.
Toa
No.
of Fire, it's kind of
He
obvious.
didn't have a lot of other options.
That's true.
And this does seem to be how the Toa operate in general.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
that's all you gotta do when you're the Toa fire and you see a fire breaking out. Just inhale.
Suck.
Just suck it all up.
As we'll see later on, it's not even the only time that he just absorbs all the heat in the world.
That's true. But this is, of course, very difficult for him, and he has to spew it right back at Onua, narrowly missing him.
Onua's in this book?
Onewa.
Wanwa.
Onwa.
One wa! He has one wa before he dies.
Wah. That one.
Wa!
Oh, we're bringing this back.
Waluigi, Toa of Stone.
Yeah, so, oh, and that's when they go into the fire pit and do the thing. I guess I mentioned that earlier, but it was actually here instead. Anyway, whatever, they do that.
Anachronisms!
Yeah. So then, back to Nuju and Whenua, they find the room that is the monster.
Yeah,
where
it's a room that's a monster. They don't know what it is, but it
And it's
probably,
got Floor Masters from Zelda.
probably has something to... They just... Nope, this is the one thing in the museum that we gave up. We just assumed
Yep.
probably has to do with that fucking frisbee that does that thing.
I kind of like the idea that it's that room is why they built the archives underground. Like they found that and they were just like, well, I guess this is where we're keeping the weird stuff.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
I can see that happening.
I just assumed that I just assumed it was
Tommy Wiseau.
I just assumed that they found a room that was a monster and thought, well, better excavate and take this room and put it in the museum. I like your idea better, that they built the archives around it.
The archives are just the SCP Foundation now.
Essentially, they
Pretty
are.
much.
Essentially, they are the SCP Foundation. You know, I have to make the SCP Foundation say Bionicles, right? I've been putting it off. I've been putting off doing it because I'm going to confuse the fuck out of people. Because I'm also going to do the Super Mario Brothers title screen at the same time, right? You know that. You know I'm going to do
I
the
have
most...
several questions.
The SCP Foundation logo and the Super Mario Brothers title screen use the same font.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
You know I'm going
anyway.
to confuse the fuck out of people now, right?
I mean, you confused the fuck out of me. That's saying something.
Well, congratulations, Liam. You're the reason I'm going to make the SCP Foundation Mario Brothers bonkles.
Okay.
Drink. So, once again, this is an instance where Whenua knows what's in the room, but he just doesn't tell Nuju
Well,
until it's, super relevant. I
Nuju
guess.
couldn't possibly be stupid enough to open it.
he just keeps assuming that Nuju won't do shit stupid because he keeps thinking, well, the Toa the Toa of Ice in 2001 was cool, so this one must be cool, right? No, he's an idiot. He keeps opening doors and running straight first into pain.
Yeah, so here's the thing where I remember the books being slightly more hype than they were, where I remember in my head that they found the Great Disc in this monster room, but no, it turns out after they get out of the monster room, they just find it in a closet.
Yeah, that's hilarious. They found basically the challenge behind this disc was, well, we know it's in the archives. It's somewhere. The challenge actually was finding it this time. All of the other
Wait,
ones...
hang on a minute. They had Tahuti. Why didn't he tell them which door it was in?
They didn't actually bring him for some reason.
Why?
No, it says that he only knew which level it was on.
Oh.
Oh, okay. How did he know that?
It doesn't explain how any of them knew any of it.
I at least assumed that the other Matoran, saw the disc.
Well, how would they see the one that's deep underground in the mouth of underwater in the mouth of a giant fish?
So here's the deal.
You go swimming.
So here's the deal. None of the discs are particularly that hard to find. It's the getting them that's the hard part. The disc of Ono
Except this one, apparently.
The disc of Ono Metru is the only one that actually does need to be found because even the guy who knows where it is doesn't know where the fuck it is. And it's great because it's a fucking multi-layer city-sized museum that goes down to probably the bottom of whatever planet they're on, and it's just enormous, and like they just put the disc in a broom closet and go find it. It's great.
So then, speaking of the big fishy in Metru, Nakama leads it out of the water and smacking into some Vahki. So she just like kills some policemen.
Yeah, it's
I'm just imagining like this thing is like she leaps out of the water, and then she has the equivalent of this giant Magikarp just flopping around, scattering Vahki every which way.
I like to think that it's more of a fee bass. Also police lives don't matter.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you can just put them back together.
So they have the disc now, and they're like, right, let's go get the Metru one. And Matau and Orkam are like, oh boy, it's in one of those, the force spheres.
Yeah.
That's a thing that exists.
So imagine if every city's bus system, transit system, had just all the buses were armed to explode at any given...
No.
I'm just trying...
Imagine if a city bus was so unstable that it was capable of folding in on itself into a miniature black hole and then rocketing through a city.
Yeah, your analogy's better. I couldn't come up with one. It's... Yeah, so of course here's what happens when the magnetism that holds the chutes together decides, I don't want to play nice today, and it becomes just the most the most devastating force imaginable. Like,
how did the chutes pass safety regulations?
I don't think they had safety regulations.
It's been canonically established that once these things reach their peak, whatever is inside of them is just annihilated. It's gone.
Yeah, like we never see what'll happen, but apparently the Metru Great Disc was at risk of exploding along with everything else in that thing. So like,
sure was convenient.
Matau.
So like,
yeah, sure was convenient that they found it when they did,
so like
and not like 5 minutes later.
So like the most powerful thing in the city can be annihilated by this even more powerful thingy.
I also want to point out that these force spheres are just like chance happenings that can happen when a chute fucks up somehow, and yet it was foretold in these tablets in the Great Temple that the disc would be inside one of these things.
Well, statistically, if you're gonna just leave it in a chute somewhere, it's gonna end up in one of these, because apparently they're super common. And Matau, and even better, is that this is probably the easiest of them all to find, because Matau immediately knows where it would be, and he doesn't even have to ask Orkham. He just assumes, well, there's this one really, really, really bad shoot point. It's like they call it the notch, which insert Minecraft reference here. They call it the notch because it is, well, you know what?
It's the part
it's
of the
like
story where the city
it's
the part of the story where the city planner started doing crack.
You know what, Chip, put up the Morbuzakh sponge again. I like to imagine that's what it looks like. That's what the notch looks like.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah.
What it reminds me of is there's in London's sewer system, because it's like ancient, it's Victorian. There's parts of it that just every now and then, from the food that people flush down their drains, it just clogs up with huge icebergs of fat and shit where the water slows down.
Yep, they're called
that's what I imagine this is. Yep. This is just where everything that gets dropped gathers.
Yep, they're called fatbergs, and they're much grosser in America, where we our infrastructure's even worse.
I mean, to be fair, London is... We're talking, like... London was where they started using chamber pots earlier on.
You know what? I'm just gonna say we need to just reboot the universe. Liam, blow up the sun again, please. Yeah,
Already Lou.
Anyway, so yeah, so this is probably the easiest disc to find, but probably the hardest to get because they know immediately. Statistically, it is definitely going to end up here more than a couple of times a day. So we'll just wait for it, and like there it is. Oh look, there's one. We found it. Okay. Well, I'm the Toa Bear, and there's so much air in this fucking vacuum that it's fucking gonna knock me out if I don't fucking get...
The other thing I just thought of, this... From the description of how the vague description of how force spheres come to be, would it not be feasible to assume that the notch, being such a chaotic and ridiculous intersection, would potentially be the cause of these things?
It probably is.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that.
But see, okay, I just realized something. The chute systems are made by the Matoran, and they're the clowns.
Oh god, that's right.
Oh.
Who
fuck.
decided the idiots should be in charge of making superhighways?
See, I think this tangle here is what happens when all the Matoran they didn't plan ahead. They just sort of separately make their own chutes, and then they all
Yes.
ran into each other, and they're like, let's just kind of all make these meet up here.
So you know that scene in the Lego movie
And
when
then
all the...
from all the intersection currents of magnetized protodermis, we get force spheres.
You know that scene in the Lego movie where the main characters all build a submarine and it sinks like within the first 5 minutes because they fucking had no coordination. They just built whatever they felt like. That.
Yeah, that's that.
Oh, while I mention that, the hatch piece, the hatch of that submarine was one of the round pieces, but the door was square. That's probably where the leak happened.
Anyway,
By the way, I just want to point out, 2 hours, and we're only about half
Yes.
done.
Yeah, Chip.
Yes, I was about to say.
Chip, edit Liam out. Edit Liam out of the podcast.
Hey!
so this is
I've already
this
told
is
him
now.
to edit me out of the podcast twice, Liam.
So they got the Metru disc out of the force sphere. No issues there. It's all fine and dandy. They go to Po-Metru. The Kirak, they just know where you're going before you do, so let's follow them.
Yeah, apparently they just they don't read the future or anything. They just analyze data or whatever.
Yeah.
So they figure, well, there are these guys that are pretending to be Toa that are actually Toa, but we don't believe they're Toa, or maybe they do. Thinking emoji.
So okay, so let's just figure out the logic here. So the ice Vahki, they figure out that the Toa are A, looking for the Great Disc, despite them going in the wrong direction, and B, know where the Great Disc is and lead them to it.
So I buy that because computers can predict things that make no sense but turn out to be accurate.
I mean, if the Vahki patrol the entire city, maybe they just had found it at some point.
Meanwhile,
take a look
on
at,
top of another building, Tahuti thinks he's inside of a fucking Usul
Oh yeah.
exhibit.
So
Yeah,
apparently
he got hit with the power of amnesia.
Yeah, so apparently the future predicting.
No, it's like fucking. It's like time displacement or something like
yeah,
that.
it's
Is what
really
the power's
stupid.
called.
Yeah, so apparently the future predicting Vahki can send your memory back into the past or something. So Tahuti thinks thinks he's still in the archives doing some stupid shit.
I just
So
realized
what you're
something.
saying is Tahuti was turned into AVGN.
I just realized the Vahki powers might be based on each Metru's industry, because the future predicting ones live in Po-Metru, where they all predict the future. The ones that can mind control live in the city of teaching, which is indoctrination basically. So yeah, what if that's a thing?
I'll look up
That certainly was a commentary on the education system.
Yeah,
that is
what it
how
is.
I figured it worked.
So
Well,
yeah, what do
that
the
was
others
obvious.
do?
I'll look that up while you talk about cool things.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, so they get the Po-Metru disc. That just happens.
It was hidden. It was basically just in a big old icicle.
Yeah, pretty much. So then we go back to Fire and Stone, who are getting the Po-Metru disc, and they run across basically Lizard Kirby, who copies whatever power you throw at it.
Oh yeah.
and that's defeated by the power of Haha Makes Glass.
glass.
Haha makes glass. Basically, they turn it into a living glass sculpture, and it realizes that it's fucked because if it moves, it's gonna shatter.
Yeah.
So that sounds like a fate worse than death, huh?
But isn't it touching the rock anyway? So can't it just absorb that?
No, because
I
Is it just
assume
floating?
I assume it has to be whatever it absorbs has to have kinetic energy behind it.
Yeah, that's what I always assumed. Is that it has to strike something with force to absorb it.
yeah. So
That's weird.
Otherwise, it could like jump and just turn into stone whenever.
And it's also probably not something that it has control over. It's more an instinctual thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
So like it couldn't just like slam its head into a wall and then turn into stone.
yeah. What if all the Rahkshi and Po-Metru can shapeshift and just are always stone? What do you think?
But anyway, so they eventually find this inverted pyramid-looking structure,
Yeah.
which I don't know how they made that. That's a thing that exists.
That's probably why they made it.
I mean, to be fair, it could be entirely held up by levitation discs.
Could be. Well, we know there's at least one disc up there, though. The Great Disc.
The Great Disc. I will look up what power that disc has.
Maybe it's levitation. Who knows? Yeah.
Maybe it is levitation, and that's why it fucking falls.
Yeah.
Apparently. But not
It
the
all
whole
comes
thing.
tumbling down, tumbling down, tumbling down. When he grabs it.
Yep.
What happens?
Because he's a big stupid.
Yeah.
But it is pretty awesome how he manages to not die.
Yeah. So, first of all, Vakama slows his fall by heating the air underneath him, and then he uses his Spider-Man things to swing around back onto the sculpture, and then he has to jump back off again because a bit of the thing from above is going to fall on him, and then he lands on the ground and I don't know, probably breaks his legs or something.
Yeah, this whole sequence is like a JoJo episode.
Yeah. And then the slab falls on him, but the bit with the hole it lands on him so he doesn't get hurt.
And that bit is like every other cartoon that is not JoJo. Unless that is Liam, has that happened in JoJo? You know more about JoJo than I do.
I don't think JoJo's that cliche.
Well, Liam, it's definitely happened in every cartoon in the universe.
And JoJo did invent cartoons, so...
JoJo invented a lot of anime tropes, and
It did.
there are cartoons that are animes. Does animes is Bionicles?
Man, wouldn't it have been cool if we got a Bionicle anime?
Yeah. One of my Bionicle followers has his petition that he tweets at everybody.
Yeah.
Moving
Anyway,
on.
If
so,
the structure is real quick, if
yeah.
the structure is able to fall over him in that way, is it flat? Like, I don't quite understand the physical shape.
I mean, to be fair, this structure, or at least some random representation of it, is seen in the movie, so...
Yeah,
Okay.
from the way it was written, I assumed that only a small chunk of the giant slab fell off, and that's what fell on him. And
Yeah,
most of the structure stayed up.
When I was reading it and he said that stuff was falling, I assumed the whole thing was falling, but then later sentences said it was just a piece of the sculpture that fell off. And again, as I said earlier, when you said you didn't know how the fuck they made this must be a really damn good sculpture if it's a giant fucking pyramid with a chunk ripped off of it, and it's still standing. How does that work? Gotta give that... Oh, you know what? I had canon that Hafu made this.
Yeah.
Another Hafu original.
Another Hafu
good old
original.
Yeah.
Moving swiftly along.
So yeah, they've all got the discs, and now they don't know what to do with them. So they're just like, you know what? There's probably like a Morbuzakh king root. Let's go find that. And Vakama's like, oh, they like heat. Let's go to the big heat place.
No. They didn't just assume that. Vakama's vision told them.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
but-
So a combination
And
of Vakama's
also
vision
Vakama
and
had at this point
A combination
thrown fire at one
of
of them.
Vakama's vision and Vakama living in hotlands is...
and also some of the Matoran were like, yeah, there's a king root.
there's a king root. It's got a stripe on it. You'll know when you see it. It's big. It likes fire.
Yeah.
I have hallucinations sometimes. It must be over there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And, so
And on their way there, they run into a building that has lots of Morbuzakh seeds. They get out by Nuju pulling some JoJo shit this time and inhaling to expand his chest so that he can then exhale and get wriggle free.
Yep. So
make an icicle.
I'm so confused now because I'm having trouble visualizing how. I know that they have biological components, but do they really have enough that they can change size by breathing like a human?
Well, we know they have organic lungs, so I assume.
Like, how much of their torso has to be made out of organics for them to be able to do that?
I assume that whatever parts aren't organic are at least stretchy metal.
We need a biologist. We need a biologist on this podcast.
So yeah, they go into the Great Furnace, where they're like, you know what, this is probably where it lives. And Nuju being...
Too bad nobody else could have figured that out.
I guess the Matoran who work here just didn't see anything.
Yeah, apparently this place has been abandoned and no one noticed.
Yeah.
Despite
it
being
says
the
that you're not allowed in
the
there.
literal source of all of the fucking molten protodermis in the entire Metru.
Yeah,
That doesn't need any maintenance.
Yep. That doesn't need any maintenance just because it's the most important building in the whole fucking city.
Yeah. So that they're trying to get in, but they're being harassed by little vine saplings on the floor. And Nuju's like, "Hey, we're inside a giant furnace. Let me try and freeze them real quick." Oh, that didn't work. Let me freeze them again.
Yeah, Nuju is just like the opposite of Kobaka in every way. He thinks that he sees that freezing them doesn't work, so he tries it again and again and again until he...
Let me, the only one with ice powers, waste all of my powers on these tiny baby plants.
It's either Vakama or Anawa that points out to him, this is just like the opposite of what you should be doing right now. What are you doing? Don't waste your power on this.
Yeah. But while he's wasting his power on those, and eventually they're all getting assaulted by these baby plants who are like, "Hey, stop freezing us." The Matoran decide to do that thing that we saw the other Matoran do that one time, where they combine.
Do the fusion dance.
They do the fusion dance.
It's way more badass here than in that comic, because in that comic they just do that to throw frisbees at a scorpion, don't they?
Yeah.
Well, here they become your powers combined, Captain Planet, whatever, and they punch a door that the Toa are having trouble with because they're fighting with the fucking plants.
Yeah.
And they're all like, they just rush in, punch the door, and then scream at the Toa, "Go, just go! Stop wasting your time, go!"
Yep. And this Metru Nui, correct me if I'm wrong, but is this the first time we've had a named being, like, Metru Nui, that was not depicted in set form? Because this specific one, made of the Matoran of Metru Nui, we never got a visual representation for that at all, not even in the comics or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Well,
yeah.
Well, the Ash Bear never got a set, and it apparently has a name.
Well, no, that the
Grabsock or whatever.
Makuta Nui thing, wasn't that technically supposed to be the Ash Bear, or was that?
And it was
in a
represented.
game.
Yeah, it was represented in Maze of Shadows that way.
I figured that was made canon at some point, but maybe it wasn't.
I'm sorry, the Makuta Nui was the Ash Bear? What?
Yeah.
What?
Anyway.
I'm so confused by that, I have to piss. Be right back.
Okay.
I'm so confused. Bears?
This is a good opportunity to get some shit out of the way so Josie doesn't interject a bunch.
I mean, the next thing is them all confronting the big bad. There's not much else to say.
Do it.
There's not much else to say. Ooh, I'm Vakama Metru. I smoke the weed.
Also, are we not covering Kraka then?
What? Kraka. No, Kraka was the next thing. Yeah, that comes after this.
But it's in this episode, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you just said that the last thing we were doing was
No. What I mean is like, do we want to go into them beating the Morbuzakh King route now while Josie's gone, or?
I mean, we may as well.
Okay, well
It'd be
they
pretty funny.
do that. they
Hey,
beat it
you're
up.
back. We're done.
They fight it for a while, and it speaks to them, and they're like, you know what? Screw you. Disc powers activate, and they blow it up.
And
That's what they do.
there's some teamwork in there a little bit.
Yeah. There's a bit of teamwork.
It's a pretty anticlimactic ending, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To a monster that's been terrorizing their entire society for months.
Yeah, that's true.
That's why the movie just skips over it entirely.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, we get one scene of Vakama being bondage tied by a Morbuzakh vine, and that's it.
Yeah. Levi, for reference, in the movie, they basically everything from we have to find the Great Discs up until them having found all the Great Discs is basically a montage sequence, and then it skips straight from them having the Great Discs to them going to the Colosseum right at the end of where we read.
What the fuck?
Basically,
Yeah.
this whole year was supposed to be a tie-in with the movie. The whole year, not just Mask of Light, and they had to come up with not one but 2 filler arcs.
Yep.
And that's what this entire book was. Both of those filler arcs.
And
Nice.
real quick, related to that, nobody commented on it, I guess, but the beginning of what we read for this episode, the bit where like Likan gives them all the Toa Stones, and we see like Duma talking to Vakama, that was all the beginning of the movie novelization, which comes later. It basically got backfilled later. I took it out and put it at the beginning, so you actually read all the events in the order that they happen.
Okay.
Because you're a good chronicler. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's something that happened with the next couple movies, actually, is that basically they had a few books explaining the general story of what was going on, making those filler arcs and whatever, and then when the movie novelizations came out, they basically hard cut back to the beginning of that story year and started again.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
and sort of told an abridged version of that.
So, since I got back to the bathroom and I don't know what we're talking about, I do have those wiki articles I said I was going to open. I was going to look up what all the Vahki do and what all the discs do.
Oh no, please no.
You want that now? Do you want that now, or...
No. Good
No,
God, no.
You know what?
In the movie episode, please.
Yes, we probably won't have that much to talk about with the movie comparatively, so we can save it for then, if that's okay. Yeah, so anyway, they beat the Morbuzakh King route. They do it. And then TuragaNuva's like, oh wow, Grandpa, you used to be a kid like me, and then you became a hero and saved the day. Yeah.
Yeah, and Harley's just like, wow, that's so cool. You were a Matoran?
Yeah. And then
And
Vakama...
a Matoran turning into a Toa? That's incredible.
And so before Vakama continues with his tale, he does this thing that he does a lot in this book, which is he just sort of internally monologues about how dark and edgy the whole story is, even though nothing dark and edgy happens.
Everything is really bad.
Yeah, he's sorry, go on.
Don't be excited, my children. Everything is real bad. We gathered the happy fun discs and use our powers of friendship to stop the fucking weeds and it's
Trust me, it's really evil.
It's real dark and nobody died, but it's real dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that he's just like, he's like, oh, it was terrible. Toa was fighting Toa deep underground. It was...
We even paid witness to a group of assholes that hated us and each other, gain enough friendship points to become one and punch a door. And it
They
was
have enough mutual hatred for the Toa that they could combine.
Yeah, out of mutual hatred. And
That's what they bond over.
This book was actually, I want to. Fuck, it was almost practically more lighthearted than Mask of Light.
Yeah.
Honestly. If
Yeah.
Vakama wanted to be all emo and shit, he should have saved it for when actual emo shit happens in the next episode of Gathered Friends, Z.
Oh boy. But anyway, so after all that's over, they're on their way to the Colosseum, being like, "Hey, we're heroes. We should probably tell the world about it." And then they're like, "But
And then
we really."
Matau asks how big of a house they should have
Oh
built.
boy, yeah, because that's
Indicating that houses for Toa are actually canon, as we theorized in previous books. So where the hell do the Toa Mata live?
To be fair, we don't really ever see the Toa's downtime. We're always seeing them doing shit all the time.
Maybe the Toa Mata just slept in their canisters. They just go back to the shore and just...
Yeah, we never see their downtime.
Yeah, well, okay, so we've talked about how much of a time span those previous books went over. This book here, what we've read so far is maybe 2 or 3 days in story. And what we're going to read for next episode is maybe another 2 or 3 days.
I thought it all took place on the same day in this book, because there's no mention of like a break.
So
it's they're all doing these things at the same time.
As meticulously handcrafted some of the details in this story are, some of them are fucking stupid, and some of them just like the scale, like everybody on the story department seemed to have a different idea of scale, and they never kept any of it straight. And that includes both time and size, because just nothing makes sense, and I think...
Oh yeah, speaking of size, okay, so the island of Metru Nui, I looked up. In terms of landmass, it's somewhere between the size of London and Las Vegas, right? So it's somewhere between those. The populations of those cities are between about 4 and 6 million. The population of Metru Nui, for the longest time, we thought was 1,000. That was the answer we were given by the story team. Until June of last year, when someone asked Greg on the TTV message boards, and he said, "Oh boy, have I cut out?"
No.
Okay, no. Sorry, it looked like your icons were bleeping, but whatever. So yeah, last year on the TTV message board, someone asked Greg, "Look, this number, 1,000 Matoran, that's really stupid. Is it real, though?" And Greg said, "Yeah, you know what, there's probably a few thousand Matoran at least. That's canon now."
Okay,
Greg does that so often. People will be like, "Hey, so is this a thing? Because it seems like it should be." And he's just like, "Yeah, why not?"
Well, as I established in the previous book, or in the previous episode rather, we have now entered the Greg zone, which basically means anything he doesn't explain in the most minute detail possible, he'll just lore dump on Beezy Power or something.
Yep.
So
and everything he says is canon until he says something else later that disproves it.
So what you mean to tell me is that when Greg was asked, "Hey, 1,000 residents of a city the size of Las Vegas, but actually utilized 1,000?
Double it.
Stupid. That's stupid. That's real stupid." And Greg was all like, "Yeah, there's maybe like 2, maybe 3 more."
Yeah, he literally just said, "There's a few thousand."
Okay.
That was his exact words.
That is... I'll do the math. I'm gonna do the math right now. How many is 1,000 of 1 million? Oh, 1,000? Wow.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna bother doing the math on that, because it's fucking...
So they're on their way to the Colosseum.
Yeah, so they're on the way to the Colosseum trying to decide who's the leader, and I just want to highlight this one line, so that they've all got their reasons why they might want to be the leader, and there's this one line where it says, "Wenua said he would take the job if asked, then seemed disappointed when no one asked him." I just love that.
Well, yeah, because they all want to be the leader except Vakama, so why would anyone ask him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's when they get surprised by Nuparu. He's here, and he's like, "Oh Toa, there's trouble in the archives. Water's leaking
gonna get
in."
waterlogged.
Yeah. That's something that we probably should have thought of.
So apparently...
It's gonna be damp and moldy.
So apparently, Nuparu, a resident of one of the 5 Metrus that doesn't give a shit about the Toa, found a leak in the basement of the city-sized museum and didn't contact the authority figures he actually trusts. He
did. He did contact them. They just didn't believe him or thought it was too dangerous.
Why would they not believe discs that can automatically fix things. Nothing is
No. He says he heard that there were new Toa, so he came to find them.
You know what's a hell? Like you know what's a hell of a lot more dangerous than going downstairs to patch a leak? The entire city collapsing because you built a big fucking museum under it and now it's flooded.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a lot more dangerous. Go fucking do your jobs. No? Okay, I'll go find the big boys to do your job for you.
But we don't want to go in the room.
And so he finds the big boys. Wenua thinks he should go do it himself.
And then everyone's like, no, that's stupid, we're going with you.
One at a time, they all decide.
Except Matau, who's like, no, I'm going with you, I want more praise.
Basically, they waste a hell of a lot of time, one at a time, saying, I'll go with you, and then monologue about it, and then I'll go with you. Basically, all of the Toa Metru are me.
So, so that they all do eventually go down into the deepest Fiku's web of the archives, as it's called. And they immediately run across some Rahkshi. Some more Rahkshi that conveniently don't have names, this time insect control and weather control.
Yep.
I love these powers, by the way.
Yeah.
Except one of them's empty and doesn't have a brain.
Yeah, one of them.
I'm just
But
disappointed.
they don't think
I
about
personally am just disappointed that we have not yet encountered the Rahkshi of Dodge.
Well, that one's just a filler Rahkshi. So I think here's what I think happened with the Rahkshi. They didn't want to specify an exact number of Rahkshi because they couldn't come up with 42 different powers. But then Greg decided to just give a random number, and then they were all like, "Well, Greg fucking said it, so now we have to run with it."
I kind of feel like, that they made the 42 color variations of the toys just from the colors they had, and then Greg probably piped up and was like, hey, all those different color karata? I can give them all unique powers.
Every
and then
single
like,
one
what,
of
Greg,
those
go
blocks
ahead.
is real, and every single one of them contains a coin. That's a quote from one of Liam's first videos!
And so they just let him do that. So these Rahkshi aren't that much of a threat, really. They seem like they're gonna be, but then the Toa just like fight them.
The weather control Rahkshi seems almost afraid of its power and unwilling to continue.
That's a completely different part of the book, Josie.
What?
Yeah, that is,
later.
and it was insect control as well. Anyway, so Nakama and Vakama try to blast them at the same time, and they end up just making steam, hot air, you might say. Yeah.
Ha ha! Makes glass!
We already made that joke.
Ha ha! Makes glass!
So, in the steam and hot air, the Rahkshi just run away, I guess.
And then this is like the first time Nakama bitches out Vakama, I think.
Yeah, she just rips into him.
Yeah.
She's like, what the frick, dude? I had it. And Vakama's like, no, I had it. We can't both have had it.
If you had done that with any other Toa, Vakama, that would have probably punched harder. But you did it with me. What the fuck, dude?
She kind of goes quickly from being like, hey, you need to be more assertive and be a leader, to, hey, stop doing stuff and just assume that I'm going to do it.
Well,
Yeah.
see, the problem with Vakama as a leader isn't that he... Basically, if they had planned what to do instead of just do it, then it would have worked better.
Yeah, he should have given the Toa direction.
He should have been all like, instead of doing it himself, he should have ordered one of the other Toa whose power works better with water to do it. Like, I don't know, Nuju maybe. Oh wait, Nuju can't because he wasted all of his power juice on fucking
His Nuju Juju.
His Nuju Juju. Okay, that's it. That's his power. That's the power now. Nuju's power is not measured in energy volts or whatever. Its power is Nuju Juju.
Yeah.
Nuju Juju.
Well, they all kind of wasted their juju on the Morbuzakh.
Oh no, some of them have power left, but not.
I think
Him definitely no.
Yeah.
Because
they all seem a little drained.
They've more than established that ice is probably the most overpowered element. So they were like, you know what? It's really boring having the ice guy always win, even in the story where we've made the ice guy a fucking idiot. So
you know who else is drained? Us, because we've been recording for 2.5 hours.
Liam,
I mean, it's still not our longest yet, technically.
Yes, it is. It's by far our longest. The last one only went on for 2 hours.
Liam, there's only so many times I can apologize for being awful.
I thought our longest was 2 3/4.
Yeah, the last one was like 2 hours 45 minutes.
Yeah, it was actually. I think it was a little bit longer before editing.
Chip,
anyway.
edit out this conversation. Also, speed up everything by 25%.
God, I could do that and turn us all into chipmunks.
Speed it up by 20%, but lower the pitch by 50.
Okay, you joke, but like when I'm editing, I do actually speed it up just to get through it faster, and everyone sounds like chipmunks when I'm scrubbing through this sound.
I am your mother.
Anyway, so the Toa all split up and search the different caves separately, and it turns out someone is shapeshifting and keeps tricking them and is like, "Hey, I'm Vakama. No, I'm not. I'm no Kama. Oh no, I'm Onewa. Except now I have fire powers." And everyone gets real angry at each other and starts attacking each other.
So
and then they're like,
as stupid as this part of the plot can be in points, I do think it's pretty brilliant. That this setting has a shapeshifter big bad. I like that. This setting seems specially designed for a shapeshifter, and I really like.
I also want to. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say,
like it's a book.
I was just going to say, I do buy that the Toa would be tricked by this. It feels natural that they're still quite distrusting of each other.
Liam, I know it's a book. I'm complimenting the writers for writing something so clever.
I just want to know what would have happened if the Kraka had come across like Metru Nui or like Makuta. Because it can only shapeshift into things it's seen before, but if it takes on their powers.
Now,
so if it came across Makuta,
everything
would be fucked.
So without giving away what Metru Nui's physical form is, do we think the Kraka would be able to turn into that?
It can turn into a literal smoke creature, so...
I mean...
Be best not to get into it now.
Yeah, it could almost certainly turn into Makuta, because it can turn into Rahkshi, and Rahkshi are basically little pieces of Makuta.
Yeah, Makuta is, as we've more than obviously seen, he is a shapeshifter. Not really...
Maybe Makuta is him.
Maybe they're just the same. Two different shapeshifters, but... So it's not so much any of Makuta's forms that the Kraka could copy. They could more than do that. It's the powers that it would need to copy, and it could definitely do those. Because apparently all of Makuta's powers are Rahkshi powers.
Yeah.
Every single one.
Each Rahkshi is just like a single splinter of his power.
Yep.
I don't know about...
Which means this one being has 42 different overpowered power sets, and he still
including
decided
dodge.
to play a fucking game of lacrosse.
But yeah, I don't know about y'all, but honestly, as much as this feels more like it was meant to be the filler story more so than the previous arc, I find this one a lot more interesting than the whole Morbuzakh Great Disc story.
That reminds me, I'm disappointed that you did not include scans of the Kraka combiner instructions that were at the end of this book.
I didn't consider it story material. I mean,
the Kraka also what's the word? Parallels, mirrors the fight with the Shadow Toa as well. I find.
Yeah, definitely.
She's great. I love her.
So yeah, Levi, I'm just going to post in chat. We're going to get to the Kraka's final form, as it were, but this is what it looks like.
This isn't even my final form.
So basically,
what is that?
That is the combiner of the 6 Toa Metru sets. basically, there wasn't a lot they could do with the pieces from those sets. So they just made so they just made one of these things that looks like a 10-year-old assembled it together out of boredom.
It's better than Gardas.
I love all the unnecessary pieces.
Well, see, it works as the one-winged angel form of a literal shapeshifter. So
Yeah, that it does.
Oh god, it really is Sephiroth, isn't it?
I attribute it more as the Sayax, because, according to dialogue, it was, almost defeated, and then Gali pissed it off so bad that it turned into this thing. So it's more like the Sayax.
Vakama.
What did I say?
Gali.
Well, they're both blue, same thing.
Same thing.
They're both blue and girl.
Oh no.
Anyway, yeah, so this is basically the Sayax from Metroid Fusion. I think they came out the same year. Oh, wait.
Yes, actually.
Wait a minute. So was this...
Yeah, actually.
So was this a coincidence?
I guess it was.
Huh. Weird.
Anyway.
Destiny!
Yeah. So eventually they come across this wire bridge, and they're trying to cross it. And one of them mentions the Chronicler as being like a thing that exists. Who was the Chronicler in Metru Nui?
I don't think it's ever established.
It's Takua!
No!
Kodan was
we've
the
already...
chronicler at some point,
Who?
Yeah,
What?
but then...
but I don't think he was anymore by this point.
Wait a minute.
Takua was never named the Chronicler until after the Mananui Online game.
Yeah, it wouldn't be Takua because they have a police force to keep him in
Actually,
line.
yeah, no, I do remember. I looked this up at one point, no. Kodan was the Chronicler up until 18 months ago when he went with the Toa Mangai on that mission that they never returned from.
Oh,
It was collateral damage.
Oh, I wonder whatever happened to Kodan. Hint, hint.
Yeah. And they come across a Rahkshi of density control, which becomes intangible at will.
Wait, that's what it's
pretty
called?
great.
Yeah, density control.
I'll be honest. I haven't memorized that list of powers on the wiki. I didn't know that's what it was called. I thought it was just called the Ghost Rahkshi or the Rahkshi of Intangibility or Jeff.
Yeah, no,
You know what?
It can just
You know what?
change the density of its molecules.
You know what? We're canonizing that. The Rahkshi of density control is named as Jeff. Fuck it.
Okay.
Only 6 of them have names. Fuck it.
Yeah.
TuragaNuva, you have the power. You can do this.
Say it. Say it now. I'm pointing a gun at you. Point it. Say it.
I missed
Density is Jeff.
sure,
canon?
why not?
Yeah. Yes.
That's about the same answer I'd expect from Greg. Therefore, it works.
Pretty much. I do want to mention real quick. I always like when density control powers are portrayed this way, where like as they get less dense to be intangible, they just start like floating, like they actually get like less heavy, and then like as he becomes more dense, he like falls.
Yeah.
And that's another reason
that's
why I assumed it was a ghost Rahkshi.
Is there a limit to how, like, dense or fucking
Presumably,
not dense it can get?
Presumably,
Because, like, could it just create a black hole out of itself or envelop the universe?
Well, presumably
Okay, so
it would
there is
get
actually a
Nuvok
list of
called
that.
if it did. But
presumably, it could become so dense it kills itself, or so little dense that it kills itself, because its molecules would start to phase away from each other.
Yeah, okay, so this actually depends on what power level the crater inside of it is. So I believe... I can't find the list right now, but the density control crater, it
I'll get
different...
the list for you.
Yeah. It has different amounts of control over its own density depending on the power level. So if it was a level 6
Vegeta!
crater...
What does the crater say about its power level? Jeff!
Yeah, if it was a level 6 crater, it could probably become a miniature black hole. If it was a level 1, it could, just get a bit heavier, I guess.
It could become a black hole, or it could intangibulate its molecules away from each other and then vaporize itself.
Yep.
It could die in many creative ways.
Yeah. So a nice little note here is that when Vakama is, about to smack into the wall, he specifically in his head says, no, I'm gonna keep my eyes open because I'm gonna honor the legacy of Toa Likai,
I want to honor...
who is courageous and brave, and that's the Fire Boys thing. They're couragey and bravey, and that's what they do.
I will honor my fallen hero's memory by smashing into a wall face first. Yes.
But I'll do it bravely.
But he's actually fine because Matau is actually luring the Rahkshi into a trap. So everything's fine.
Yeah, and then everyone goes into the very dark place, and all get picked off one by one by the Kraka.
I'll be honest, I remembered very little about these chapters. I completely forgot that there was a spooky bridge sequence in Bionicle.
Yep.
It's like, oh, there's
another spooky bridge sequence.
Ooh, there's a spooky rope bridge. We have to cross it. Oh, but it's breaking. Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, they all get picked off one by Kraka until it's just Nokama left, and she beats up 3 Rahkshi by herself.
Yep, something that all 6 of the Toa Nuva could not do, and the only one of them that could, literally his entire power set revolves around killing these things.
Yeah.
So, but armed with the power of water, and...
Not even much the power of water. All she does with her water power is pull a trickle of water towards her.
Okay.
I mean, to be fair, she doesn't defeat them. They defeat them.
Yeah, so...
She outsmarts them.
She basically defeats them through sheer force of will. It probably helps that the lightning Rahkshi is probably the... Like obviously the Rahkshi of lightning is going to have a weakness against the water Toa. When there's 2 other Rahkshi, the water Toa can reroute the lightning into one of the Rahkshi, and then they start fighting each other. At the end, it's a very easy fight to win, because Rahkshi are dumb as shit apparently.
So
they're not smart boys.
No. So eventually the Toa do find each other again. Unfortunately, Nuju's encased in one of them stasis fields, so they just decide to try a really risky move. Let's fire a teleportation frisbee at him and hope it just teleports away the stasis field and not him.
Because again, these discs do whatever they want when it's convenient for the story writers for them to do a thing. One time they teleport randomly, the next time they teleport directly to you, and the next time they teleport randomly again.
I mean, to be fair, they are like, well, if it doesn't work, at least we're not more screwed. At least he's just got to be screwed elsewhere.
He could end up inside of a wall for all they know.
Did they
especially considering they're already underground.
So they said well, if it teleports him with the force field, then he's not going to be in any worse place. He's just going to be in a different place, unless he ends up in a wall. Did they say what the power level of the teleportation disc was?
They said it was enough to fling him halfway across the island.
Oh.
So, yeah.
They're fucking
They easily
stupid.
could have thrown him underneath the ocean or something.
They're fucking stupid.
Why are discs legal?
Why are they used for sport?
Yeah. Oh boy.
I just love the idea that you throw a disc for your friend to catch and it just freezes him solid.
Reconstitutes him at random.
Well, yeah.
Well, okay, there is actually this thing. So there was a companion website to one of the guidebooks that was released in the year 2004, and on that website it states that disc catching was a sort of an illegal sport that was played on the streets.
I remember that.
Yeah, where Matoran would throw discs, to and fro each other, and they'd have to catch it in such a way that they transfer the momentum without, activating the power.
Oh,
actually, this is a bit of a digression.
It's like
but,
Russian roulette with Kanoka.
Speaking of Russian roulette, do you think because it's random reconstitution, do you think if they had enough of those, they could just reconstitute someone until finally they turn him into a Toa?
You know what? Probably. In Dungeons and Dragons, there's a thing like that called
the deck of many things.
It's kinda. It's called Wild Magic. It's a class.
Oh, right.
It's a class of spellcaster that basically every spell they cast has a random effect that can be better or worse, and you can learn.
That's great.
You can learn new spells or level up. As part
I need to build a character around this.
Yeah, I consider doing it, but I also am not good at D&D, so bad. I got everyone killed in my game.
I got turned into a
Literally
snake.
called down like peace lightning while in the rain on a ship.
Oh, it was Jonah's fault because he wouldn't let me use comm mines. Primarily because our other players hated each other for real, and it wouldn't have worked. Basically, so the reason why the Beaver House doesn't have a D&D podcast, when I love the fuck out of 2 D&D podcasts, is we tried, it wasn't gonna work.
I would love to play D&D with you guys.
I got everyone killed. No, I got myself killed, and then I directly killed everyone else. With my second character. And then I killed myself non-canonically.
Moving on.
And then the DM dropped off the face of the earth and was never heard from again.
So between some lava eels and boiling pipes, the Toa eventually decide, we should probably stick together, except for Nuju, who's like, no, I'm gonna scout ahead on my own.
Because I'm an idiot.
No, he just needs his alone time,
Okay, but you're fighting a shapeshifter.
So,
Put your personal hang-ups to rest, dude. Shapeshift, man. Or shapeshifty
So
girl.
he does encounter that shapeshifter, not realizing it, thinking it was Nakama, and while he's looking for Wenua, who's been trapped this whole time, and so he gets knocked out by Nakama Kraka, who's there, and then Kraka goes back to the other Toa, posing as Nuju, and everyone's like, yeah, we totally know this is a trick. Because Nuju would never care that much about us.
I love.
Yeah, Matau is so heartbroken by that. It's just like, he trails off in the middle of his sentence, like, wait, sorry, he hates me?
Yeah, okay, so Nuju, we decided to give up. We're gonna go up to the city and get the police robots that hate us to help. And also, Nuju, we know how much you love Unity, so you can go hang out with Matau if you want. And then Kraka doesn't actually know the people she's stalking, so she's like, yes, all of that things you said. And then they immediately jump him. Matau jumps from the ceiling and onto her, and is like, just like has her in a wrestling hold, and they assume that oh no, her arms are restrained, she can't shapeshift now. Because that's how that works.
And then she does anyway.
Well, no, wait! She shapeshifts into something that doesn't have arms.
True.
Ha!
And she
We
shapeshifts
found the
into something
secret!
that has too many.
We found the secret!
I'm sort of unclear on how much of their memories or knowledge Kraka absorbs when turning into them, because later, when turning into the combination of all of them, there's that whole bit where Kraka's distracted by all of their different colliding thoughts.
Yeah.
So the way I read it is that basically she has all the knowledge of the Toa in her brain noodles, but she has to go through all the files. She has to look back through her memories and find the relevant details, and she does not actually care enough about the Toa to look through their memories and learn about them.
It's fair enough.
Otherwise,
because she does say that she's learning as she goes. At first she could only repeat back what Vakama was saying to her, and then she learned to speak properly. So.
Yeah, because otherwise, if she copied all 6 of them, she should know 6 times over. They're there to fucking patch a leak. She's going to die if they don't do this, and then they're going to leave, and they will just leave her down there. It's fine. She's a fucking idiot. Just like everyone else. Da-da-da.
Yeah. So eventually they all, they lure Kraka back to them so that she can take them to her lair, and so they can all be together again. And then they hatch this sort of Rube Goldberg type event where they all bounce each other's powers off of each other to save everyone and get everyone in position ready to fight. And then they try and reason with her, say, hey, we're just here to help. Let's not do the fight. And then she's like, no, fuck you. Everyone's evil except me. I'm going to be the ultimate dictator and rule over everything when everything is underground and I'm not.
I'll trap all the Rahkshi and they'll do my bidding. But what is my bidding?
I don't know. Oh no. Yeah, but eventually they do. They do drive her to transform into a combination of all 6 Toa at once, which completely overwhelms her. And eventually
she does get a few shots off, and even performs a Nova Blast that just spun.
It's not a Nova Blast.
Whatever it is she does, it makes.
She makes a Toa seal.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah.
She even does that, and Vakama's all like, "Wait, what? I didn't know that would happen."
I guess that's a thing that we can do.
I guess that's a thing we can do.
So eventually they manage to mentally and physically destabilize her enough to sort of trap her somehow. Well, not really trap her, but sort of just subdue her. And then they're like, yeah, you know what? She's not a threat anymore. She turns into a lava eel and slithers away into the lava. And then they go patch up the leak and everything's fine and dandy.
And we'll never hear from her again.
Yep, never again.
Yep.
Yep. And I guess we're done.
Well, pretty much. I mean, then it just cuts back to Vakama, on the island telling the story. And everyone's like, oh, you've got to stop the story there, but we wanted to hear the real story.
Oh, don't worry. You'll hear,
you'll
about the worst thing that ever happened to me in my life.
You'll hear about that next time.
I have a few notes that we didn't get to because I talk a lot about stupid shit instead of shit that I actually wrote down.
No way.
So Onoa's walking across the desert, and he's all like, "I need a mask of speed. If a Toa Stone is going to be walking through the desert, they need a mask of speed." I thought that was funny.
Sure, it'd be nice. Yeah.
Let's see. This is one Matoran who doesn't intend to mysteriously disappear. Says, Is this the first time I've said that this whole episode?
Gargamel?
I don't know how to pronounce the brown Matoran's name. What's his name? Liam?
Akmu?
We've been over this.
Akmu?
It's Akmu. Yeah.
Alright. Let's see. Here, Akmu calls Onoa an Akalini head. Koli doesn't exist yet.
Yeah.
So my headcanon is now that the reason the Matoran of 2001 threw discs, and now they throw discs again here, is because the Turaga had tried to replicate Akalini as best they could with the Matoran's new wimpy bodies, but it kept leading to broken arms. Because
not to mention the fact that Kanoka discs didn't exist.
Yeah, they just had bamboo discs.
Okay.
You can't ride one of those.
But anyway, so like the Turaga were all like, well, we can't keep fixing the Matoran's arms every time they break, so here's a rock. Kick it. Good boy.
I do have
Or
one
just fix your
last
feet.
note that I haven't addressed yet.
Yep.
Yeah.
In this book, we get the first mention of heart lights. So I guess their chests just glow?
That's not the first mention. They mentioned that in the 2 episodes ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, apparently they're...
I'm gonna have to search the PDF for that one.
Apparently their chests are meant to have lights on them, but none of their sets ever do.
There's just a small light in the center of their chest that it just beats like a heartbeat, flashes on and off.
Liam makes mocks of the Toa Nuva that just have there's a pinhole in the Nuva armor chest piece that you can just fit one of those stud thingies in. So we would just put a clear boy on there.
It's pretty cool.
Yep.
TuragaNuva, what do you think of this that we read?
Overall, I don't know. Honestly, I find the Toa Metru a little less immediately likable than I found the Toa Mata. I don't know if that's just my personal preference, though.
No, it makes sense. They're not the best
understandable.
personalities.
Yeah, I've been reading through this with my wife, and I was like sort of talking about the personalities of the different Toa Metru with her, and I got to Onawa and was just sort of like, and Onawa's just kind of a jerk. Like that's really,
Yeah.
I'm not sure of another defining character trait.
And I just want to make a point here is that we're doing a podcast about Bionicle books, and the person who makes the book that we're reading is married. God, I feel old.
Bionicle's almost 20 years old, everybody.
Jeez.
But anyways, yeah, I don't know if I really had much else to say. I think the Morbuzakh arc feels very fillery, and honestly, reading the 2 comic issues that cover that whole arc gets you about as much as the text does. Just
Yeah,
less stretched
I can see
out.
that.
But I really enjoy the whole Croc a bit.
Same.
I have 2 more notes.
In terms of writing, I thought this part was one of the best so far, but like the story wasn't really that good until it got to Kraka.
I
Yeah.
like the Kraka. I have 2 more notes. They're quick notes. So
It fucking better be.
the room that's a monster. There's an SCP. It's one of the first ones.
Here we go.
SCP-002, the living room. It's just a big.
It's a room made of flesh,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, it's a giant fucking tumor or whatever. You open a hatch on the outside, and inside is a very nicely furnished room.
Furnished with human flesh, yeah.
Yep. And then I was checking which, if any, other than the obvious one, of the Metru Nui Matoran had canon Nui forms. 3 of them do, 3 of them don't. The obvious one is Akamau.
You literally just said it like 5 minutes ago.
I'm me, Liam. I can forget things while I'm talking about them. Nuri has a cannon form. He wears a cow instead of a ruru for some reason. Tahuti has a cannon form. He wears the Vakama instead of a huna for some reason. Orcam Eerie?
What?
What's the white one name?
Right?
Okay, Derriere, Orcam, and Vuvuzela. Okay, so Derriere, Orcam, and Vuvuzela do not have canon Nui forms. And those are my notes.
Okay.
The other ones are about the mass powers we'll go over next week.
It turns out that this episode's true big bad was the length of the episode itself.
Fucking we are like 1 minute, exactly 1 minute short of 3 hours
I
now.
am the Makuta of Beaver Nui. Me,
Anyway.
Josie.
We should probably stop soon, but before we do...
It's the mask of time. Josie wears the mask of wasting time.
Yes, I wear the infected mask of time.
So, before we go, we gotta know, TuragaNuva, I'll find out from you later what your depiction of you in the episode should be, but who is #your guy, your favorite person?
Of all, or like
Yep, your favorite person of all of the ones.
Should we say of the characters that have been introduced so far?
of what we just read, or of everything so far?
Everything.
I'm a real big fan of Onua. Onua is my boy.
Onua or Wanwa?
Or
Onua, the Earth one from the
Right.
Mata and the Nuva. Yes.
I always get so confused when I'm talking to Joe about Bionicle stuff because he always pronounces Onua as Onua.
I said Onua for the longest time.
I've just stopped trying to keep it straight.
Yeah. Anyway, that just about wraps us up for today. Thank you all very much for joining.
Thank God.
And for anyone listening in at home, you be cool too.
And I am sorry that I'm like this.
For next time, we will be reading the rest of Book 4, up to and including the epilogue that covers basically the events of the movie, Bionicle 4 Legend of Metru Nui, which is itself optional reading. Or optional watching. What? Bionicle 2 Legend of Metru Book 4.
Are we
So
not
do we have
watching
to
the
do-
movie?
Not
Do we have to
necessarily.
do the reading, or is the movie...
Okay. You have to read the book, movie is optional.
Right.
It's the same story, but yeah. There you go.
Okay.
So there we go. So that's what we'll be doing next time. Links to the book can be found in the description below, along with links to all of our Twittery type pages, and, of course, TuragaNuva. I'll probably link some of yours there too. So,
Cool.
thank you very much for watching and coming along and speaking and reading and being cool. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Have a very bonkle day, everybody!
Bye.
I have a massive throbbing